the act of parliament to come up with all these positions as well. What does it really, as Churchill is putting it, what does it really show is the motive of these current administrations with all this bloated wage bill that we do have? Yet it has been the clarion call from the government that we want to pare down on the wage bill. We can see the civil servants as well. The salaries, how much figure are we talking about?
3.8 billion shillings that is bound to be ticking up if we have the salaries being reviewed by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission being approved.
I take it back from the Sabasaba, what you had asked earlier on.
You're still on Sabasaba, the issues that have been raising.
I see a great opportunity for our country, very great. The fact that we are able to demonstrate, picket, and raise issues in public in the way that we are, it means that we are a very grown constitution and a country. Democracy is at its best. There are a few things that will change and others that will give us an opportunity. First of all, we have a government in place. The President Ruto is still going to be the president until his term comes to an end. So that is not going to change. However much we try to do whatever we are doing, it only presents to him and the government an opportunity to listen very keenly to what the people are talking about. What is it that they want to raise? Are we listening to them? And this portends very, people are talking about the high cost of living. What are the opportunities that are available that is going to change the needs of the people and their livelihoods as it is, and those issues be implemented as it were? Our country right now, the biggest challenge that we have is the depreciating shilling. And depreciating to the dollar to up to 40% is not a very simple thing. Mm-hmm. What are the opportunities that we should be taking in place? I'm not an economist. I can only speak from my experience, having been a business person since the year 1991 as an entrepreneur, doing this every single day of my life. And one of the greatest things is to look at the market. What is the market in need of? What can we quickly export to change our economic situation? Because the more we bring in the dollars here, the better the economy becomes. Look at the global market for vegetables. Is $751 billion. 751 billion. How long does it take to produce vegetables?
3 months.
3 months? What must we do? We have biosecurity measures that must be taken in this country. We have farmers that are willing to do quite a lot of things. We have people who can produce and export. We have a ready market. Mushrooms alone, mushrooms, is a market of $50.1 billion. How long do mushrooms take? They can be done in the forest, they can be done in homes, procedures followed. It only takes 3 to 4 weeks. And there is a ready market globally that can take these mushrooms and we can sell and get US dollars here. How much is the market for honey, which takes just about 6 months? Bottomless market that you can never, it's about 8.5, 8.9 billion US dollars. If we can listen to the voice of what people are saying without being so technical, without being so thinking, because there is nothing that we are reinventing. These are the things that we now need to start thinking about. The futures that we are working on in terms of the economic strategy is not going to take us very far. At the end of the day, we still have to pay the US dollars that we are trying to save and extend to a later time. So we need to start. Listening is very, very important. And I think we need to encourage our president to also do the best that he is doing. We know he means very well. We know he is very vocal. We know he has all the energy that he has. And I think there is a space, just a small space, that needs to be there so that he can come back and say, nimeangalia vijana wangu vile wanaendelea na sioni wakiendelea vizuri. I am intervening because I am the big man. But if he sits
at the front on all aspects, then there is a small challenge, and people will misunderstand him anyway. The father is supposed to speak last after everyone has tried everything else, and I think that is something that I want to encourage from the bottom of my heart, that people are paining. People understand he means well. People elected him so that he can do the best that he can do for this country. But at the moment, vitu kwa ground ni tofauti kidogo. We need to step back and listen. And not just listen. Listen very carefully so that we can be able to respond to those specific issues. There are quick decisions that can be made in this country. They must not be extremely expert. It is what the market is asking for, and us responding to the same and being genuine in advising those who are in power, those who are talking to the president, those who are advisors. Please advise him in the best way possible. We are out here doing that. I hope this can get somewhere. I hope even the demonstrations of Sabasaba will be listened to, and there can be something extremely good. The biggest opportunity that President Ruto has as part of this government is one that at such an early stage, he can hear what people are saying out there, and he has an opportunity to quickly correct and make himself a winner, just as we all win, because this country belongs to us. And may God grant him wisdom. And leadership is not easy. There are decisions that are forced because of political interest. And I have said earlier on here, we have done everything right in our country, save for politics. This is the time to start thinking, because we are in perennial campaigns in a way that we should not be. And the country is watching.
Thank you.
And we need to deal with this.
Indeed, indeed. So the caliber of advice that the president or the executive is getting, Martin,
Yes.
do you think is what should be coming from the AG? Because it seems every also fight that is put in court, he has to challenge it, even if it can be seen that the petition itself is threadbare of sailing through in terms of facts and the constitution.
You see, first of all, Dibal, you cannot take away by legislation that which has been made explicit by the Constitution.
By the Constitution, that's yes.
So Article 233 of the Constitution provides for a Public Service Commission, and it says what kind of composition the Public Service Commission ought to be. So the legislation can only be in tandem in fulfillment of the terms stated in the Constitution, not any other. The separation of powers, the difference between the Public Service Commission and any other powers of recruitment given to the president by the Constitution are like night and day. So the president cannot also be the chair of the Public Service, or the executive cannot chair the Public Service Commission. It is a constitutional commission meant to cushion civil servants away from the vagaries of politics, so that promotion and discipline of civil servants can be done independent of the executive. Similarly, the Teacher Service Commission, similarly, any other commission like the Police Service Commission, and of course, doctors have said they also want a public service, adopt a medical commission or something, health service commission. And the point being made is that in order to safeguard gains that have been given by the Constitution, these commissions are meant to have some kind of semi-autonomy or semi-autonomy to be able to make decisions without looking back over their shoulders, without being commanded or without being told what to do by the president. So the president has every right to give the Public Service Commission its opportunity to do its job. He does not need to take it over. He does not need to preside over it. And that petition, no matter what comes out of it, the people that my friend Suba refers to as charlatans may have succeeded in IEBC, but they will have a hard time trying to succeed in the Public Service Commission in light of what the law says and what the Constitution says, and anything else that you want to do around it can only be in line with the Constitution, not against it. So I would say that the advice that the president is receiving, let me say this. I'm not sure that this president receives advice. I think he's the one who gives advice to others. He's totally in charge. I don't think he has room for people to advise him. He's he's somebody with a very strong opinion. He seems to have information about everything, and sometimes that works well, sometimes it doesn't work well. A leader at that level, whether you know or you don't know, whether you have an opinion or you don't have an opinion, hold it to yourself first. Take counsel from others and weave it into your decision so that you appear to have been listening. Even if you didn't listen, but appear to have been listening. Be there, sit there, listen. Yeah? Even in his own good days, Arab Moi used to go around and say, he would take, and then he goes and fashions a decision. Even if it's totally against what people have said. But you need to appear as a leader to be listening. And that's the wisdom that our culture demands. That when you are the head of a household, you speak last, you listen to everybody. At least you give a semblance of a democracy, even though we know that yours is a monarchy. So you sit there, you listen, and sometimes you'll be persuaded by what people have told you and so on. So yes, there's room for advice, there's room, and I know that he has advisors. I mean, apart from Attorney General, he has the former Solicitor General, Ken Ogeto, in his office, and he has a number of lawyers around him.
David Lee and others, economic advisors.
But he has several lawyers in matters law that I believe he should be listening to, including the PS for Foreign Affairs, who was for a long time his legal advisor, and I know some of my former students who are also sitting in his office as advisors. So the point I'm making is that I don't think there is a vacuum in terms of the resources he has at his disposal on the law and the constitution. What then he wants to do is politics. And he has found every room to stretch this constitution at every turn of events. And that is going to be his undoing, because already you see the budget is being struck, is being hit on account of the constitution. The caste issue is being hit on account of the constitution. Eventually, even this thing about the cabinet secretaries and the role of some so-called strangers in the cabinet will come up. And he'll be reminded that the constitution sets a maximum of people who can sit in cabinet. How many do you have? And then he'll start justifying, and he'll be told, no, is this a full cabinet position or is it not? I mean, he creatively brought in this thing about a national security advisor at a cabinet level. Unfortunately, this is a presidential system that is not purely presidential as, say, the American system would be, which gives a lot of latitude to the presidency. Ours, these guys, Kinasumba Churchill, gave with one hand, took with another hand. They gave you a presidential system that was not purely presidential. It was mixed up with the parliamentary. And in some cases, some of those changes were being made without necessarily looking through the thread of it all. So he doesn't have that leeway to just make appointments that he wants. The numbers are limited, and he has to live within those limits.
Kirwa, I remember one time, I think just this year, you talked to us that you watch out, 3 months down the line, not even 7 years, we'll have the hallmarks of a dictator. And I don't know what you're reading through with this as well, because if you may ask, why would the president be having an interest on being the executive chair of the public service? The people will raise a question, is he a micromanager? Does he listen to advice? Does he just run this government like a maverick?
Well, to give him the benefit of doubt, I have a very strong feeling, because I worked with him for 2 years. I worked with him earlier when he was getting into politics. I'm his senior brother. And he used to come to me for advice when I was assistant minister in the Ministry of Agriculture, and we worked together. And up to the formation of UDM, a party that he brought in the other day. We formed it with him. He was elevated into a ministerial position. I was sacked as assistant minister, and that is our history. So knowing the person that I know, I'm sure he's not part of this scheme of trying to make him the chairman of Public Service Commission. Once I've said that, he's also gifted in testing. Being a scientist, I think he likes experiments. So at times he does very dangerous experiments like this one, and many other experiments like having a cabinet minister who is not a minister. These are some of the experiments that he has done.
And my worry is not whether he will succeed, because he has a way of getting out of it.
Yes.
He's slightly more intelligent than we give him, in terms of blaming it on somebody else and running away to safer grounds. But once I've said that, is that he does not lack advisors. Why? He has enough people, the way Dr. Martin Olo has said. But my worry is whether he has room for advice. Number two, whether he allows his advisors the latitude of freedom to make decisions. Students of management and governance are reminded quite often that when you go to a meeting, you can introduce the topic, but do not allow yourself to be read into if you are the main person in charge of that organization. Because people all over the world, Africa in particular, do not like going against the grain. They would want to massage the ego of the boss. And therefore, if you give them position that this is my position, they will try to work around it and make it look nice. But at the end of the day, they have not given you an answer. They will not have given you an answer. And therefore, the best thing is to do what President Reagan said. Give assignment to people who are well trained and give them the latitude of freedom to make decisions based on the information available to them, and they will give you the best answers.
Thank you.
What advice can I give to this government? If you have advisors, allow them to give you advice before you preempt them by your own prejudices. Don't allow your lenses to influence the clarity of the issues presented to you.
Thank you. All right, we need to wind up the show on that particular note. I'll just not give you also your headline thoughts. I'm sorry. We can actually pick up on these issues next week. So thank you very much for your valued company. You've been watching Uongozi Today. We'll pick up on these issues and, of course, following on the latest development as far as also the protests are concerned.
KTN News. Get the whole story. Prepare yourself for an electrifying experience that will rev up your engines and leave you breathless. The second Digger Motor Show is here to take you on a thrilling journey through the world of automotive excellence. Check out the sleek and sophisticated luxury cars and witness the unveiling of the hottest new models from renowned manufacturers, each one pushing the boundaries of style and performance. Mark your calendars for the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 at the KICC and get behind the wheel of your dream car. Be ready to experience the second edition of the Digger Motor Show. Come and ignite your passion for cars. You don't want to miss a single moment. To book your space or get more details, call Caroline Nyandieka on 0723 803601.
Mars, yani mko mtaani buying just like that? It's time to play Instameter and you could win up to 10 million shillings instantly. The game is quite easy. Simply dial *239# to play. Don't just zuba.
Play Instameter today and get a chance to win millions. Over 18s only. Gaming is addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been authorized by the BCLB. License number 880.
of incredible diversity and rich cultural heritage. A continent full of stories waiting to be told. Join us as we journey to remote villages to explore the vibrant cultures of Africa. Discover the intricate artistry of its jewelry and textiles, the delicious flavors of its cuisine, the joyous celebrations that bring communities together. Learn about the customs and beliefs that have been passed down through generations. Experience the breathtaking natural beauty, from the rolling savannas to the majestic mountains. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to explore the richness and diversity of Africa's culture and heritage. Tune in to our special broadcast,
Culture Quest, and discover why Africa truly is a continent like no other. KTN News. Get the whole story.
Anytime you have new music and you want to pop in, kindly.
To the ordinary eye, this lush
this is where we
environment
support our
harbors
own
dark
artists. Kwa sababu
secrets
we are seeing the likes of
life
South
in its
Africa, Tanzanians.
The
here, they're
waters
doing
of
well
this
because
stream
they're
nourish
supporting
the
each other.
soil,
Is it something
which in
that
turn
ungetamani
nourishes
sana
the
Wakenya
ecosystem
wafanye?
that dots this little paradise of Kirerema village in Kirinyaga County. But hidden in plain sight is the ecological risk of the huge eucalyptus trees that dominate the landscape. Like the lions of the wild, eucalyptus trees have predatory instincts that push away all other life forms, creating an environment in which only they can survive. Aminus Moshera from the village is among the oldest farmers of the evergreen tree that is locally known as Menyuamai. The name literally means huge consumer of water. The name stands from the tree's complex root structures which sink deep into the earth like giant straws which suck away huge amounts of water. The eucalyptus tree's fallen leaves also create a toxic bed in which other forms or plant and animal life can barely survive.
Mimi ni mkulima wa hii Menyuamai wa miaka mingi.
I have grown eucalyptus for many years, like 30 years. However, I started noticing some changes in the soil fertility.
Basically, no other crop or tree can grow where the eucalyptus grows.
Here, in the foothills of Mount Kenya, the majesty of eucalyptus is slowly changing the ecosystem, one tree at a time. And the tragedy of it all lies in the locals' inability to understand the unfolding ecological disaster.
Initially, we were encouraged to plant eucalyptus trees to help counter soil erosion. We even sold some for timber, but it wasn't yielding many returns, so I had to switch to other tree species.
Na ndivyo tulianza kupanda hiyo miti hii ya kabila nyingine.
For most farmers, the towering trees remain popular due to its fast growth and suitability for timber. But some residents are taking notice as harvests dwindle.
Before the introduction of eucalyptus, we would harvest between 30 to 35 bags of maize from an acre of land. However, this quantity has gone down and one can barely even get 10 kilograms. We also used to plant oranges, but now the soil is so compromised that they can hardly grow.
The eucalyptus tree is among the most widely grown in the world. But for decades, it has been a major threat to conservation, leading to massive diminishing of wetlands. Environmental experts attribute this to a lack of knowledge, which has left farmers planting these trees in wrong zones. Despite an order in 2009 that trees planted along the rivers and water catchment areas be cut, there is no legislation that regulates the practice, making it hard to enforce. With about 100 species of eucalyptus, experts advise that farmers can opt for alternatives that favor different ecological zones. Tree planting is one of the most popular fixes for the climate crisis. However, experts say planting trees can only be good for the environment if done right.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
It remains one of the most controversial topics in Kenya and globally. It goes by different names: self-murder, self-destruction, and self-slaughter. Indeed, suicide is death caused by injuring oneself with the intent to die. But the attempt happens when one harms themselves with the goal of ending their own life, only that they do not succeed. But what really goes on in the mind of a suicidal person?
We don't really know what is going on in their mind because there's a lot going on. For instance, most of them feel that the world has come to an end, that life is meaningless, and although they are trying to reconstruct it, it's not coming out as well as it should. That a lot of them have what is called cognitive dissonance. That is, they do not have the sort of reality that most of us have. When you have challenges in life, most of us feel that we need to resolve the issues going on in our lives. But for people who contemplate suicide, they tend to think that the world has sort of come to an end. So they are looking for the solution inside themselves rather than outside where they are. And that is why the contact with the first person is very important, to comfort the person, to tell them that there is hope, to tell them that life is much more meaningful than what they are thinking about, and to also tell them that life has sort of a success at the very end. The success may not be as best as we wished, but there is need for us to offer hope.
Hope that often is easier said than done, ever spoken of, but never offered until it is too late.
We begin to say, this life is not worthy living. It is giving me pain more than the joy that I should have. That's the way that they reason. And by the way, they sit back, many of them, and say, no, these thoughts of mine are crazy. They don't make sense. And then, even though at some stage they argue and they appreciate that they are not normal ideas, they keep on coming back. And a time will come when they say they can commit suicide. Where they have taken something or tried to hang themselves, they will have walked through a process before they get there. And when we see that, we get alarmed, not knowing that this is something that started some time back or has been there for a long time until we get to this stage.
Surprisingly, most troubled nations in the world report low suicide rates. It is like amid the instability, the hope to live another day keeps the populations going. According to the World Population Review, Afghanistan, for example, records 4.1 suicides out of 100,000 people. Iraq reports 3.6, while Syria's rates stand at 2.0 out of a similar number of persons. It is not clear if these statistics for the mentioned nations reflect suicide committed due to mental health problems and terminal illnesses only. However, mental and terminal conditions are the key drivers of suicide in most parts of the world. Africa has the world's highest cases of death by suicide. Here, 11.2 out of 100,000 people end their lives each year. This is higher than the average rate of 9 out of 100,000 people. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people aged between 15 and 29. In Kenya, it is estimated that at least 4 Kenyans die by suicide every day, with an average 20 times as many attempting suicide. With many cases going unreported or unspoken of, these could be conservative figures. While most suicidal persons exhibit obvious signs, most cases go unnoticed until it is too late.
We see him developing temperature, we see him not able to breathe properly, or somebody who is malaria, or is a flu, and they are sneezing. Are you going to blame them for sneezing? Or are you going to find out the treatment for that? The problem is, one of them is a physical condition, and therefore we tend to sympathize with the physical symptoms, because they are symptoms of a more underlying illness. So suicide is a symptom of an underlying illness, and they don't choose to get they don't choose to get that illness.
In their minds, they believe that the absence is the best option. Like still waters reflecting the beauty of a sunset over a lake, they try as much possible to conceal these signs by fronting an air of peace and self-control.
They sort of feel they are a burden to other people. You see, the person sort of feels that they are a burden because nobody understands me, nobody cares what's going on in my life, and therefore they feel like if they end their lives, which is most unfortunate, they will bring solace to their friends, to their family. In other words, they feel that they are a problem, and they are actually trying to resolve that problem by committing suicide and getting out of the way. And that is why you hear most of them saying, I will end up my life so that I will no longer be a disturbance to you. So in counseling psychology, we offer these people hope. We talk to them and we try to ask them to see several ways of coping with their lives and with their situation and with their circumstances, so that in the end, they live like everyone else. Of course, one of the most important things we accept with them is that they could have been trying to find a solution, but that is not the most appropriate solution.
According to experts, suicide and its attempt happen at a time when one is battling deep, if not critical, depression.
We say depression is commonest. A sense of failure, you look backwards, all you see are failures. You look at present, there's nothing going on that seems good to you. You look to the future and you start saying, no, I cannot continue. And some of them actually make plans. Some of them will go to their families and start giving oral will, not written will, oral will. Bring the children and start saying, if ever anything happened to me, if anything ever happens to me, I want you to know we have issues with that person and that person, and this is where I want to be buried. If you hear that kind of talk, just don't take it for granted.
Most victims follow a common trajectory before finalizing their suicide plans.
The mental illness, suicidal thoughts, suicidal plans, suicidal attempts. The majority follow that trajectory.
Stigma directed at suicide survivors and their kin keeps many from seeking help from experts. This also happens to the relatives of departed victims of suicide.
Oh yeah, we have seen this happen. We didn't know what to make of it. In other words, like we do a psychological post-mortem. It can be done. But it needs to be done in an environment where you want people are free to discuss these issues, just like the way we are discussing.
Suicide is a complex psychosocial behavior that can be linked to underlying neurobiological abnormalities that occur in the brain.
These are the medicines that chemicals that occur in a certain part of the brain called limbic region. That's very technical, and that's where you have the pleasure centers. By the time you get to serotonin, it would have started somewhere. There are certain changes to do with the substance that eventually, when they get metabolized, when they get utilized in the body, they lead to a situation where there is deficiency of this chemical substance called serotonin. And now we know it is not just serotonin, there are other things that we do not know.
We know there are biological changes in the brain. That's why we give antidepressants. But we also know there are psychological issues that may occur in this particular person. And more importantly, there are social issues. Is it family issue? Is it employment issue?
Most Kenyans are bound by culture and religion. They believe that life is sacred and no human has the right to take it away. The law also echoes this. Suicide is a criminal offense in Kenya that often indicts survivors.
Let's talk about suicide. And that is the only way we will increase awareness, we will then destigmatize it. But if we take them to court because they have attempted suicide, then what do they do? I'll make sure I die. When I make this attempt, I'll make sure I die. They can take the dead body to court.
By helping those who are challenged, may be the reason to keep our loved ones alive and get them the necessary assistance. But this can only be achieved from a point of understanding. Husna Mohammed, KTN News, Nairobi County.
KTN News. Get the whole story. When it comes to your motoring needs and likes, there is only one place where you will find the best automotive dealers and enthusiasts alike. You'll enjoy the best deals on vehicles, spare parts, insurance, and asset financing tailored to fit all your needs, all at the Digger Motor Show. It's the place you will want to be on the 20th of July, 2023.
Subaru Kenya is the authorized Subaru genuine dealer for Kenya and Uganda. So we basically deal with new vehicle sales, spare parts, and we also have service. For our parts, we deal with strictly genuine Subaru from Japan, and the beauty about genuine parts is they guarantee you peace of mind. They are reliable. In terms of functionality, they give your car optimal performance as per the manufacturer spec, and of course, looking at the overall cost of it all, it is the best way to go because it ensures that your car has a long lifespan, giving you service over a long period of time. We have locations across the country, starting with our branch network. So our headquarters is at Addis Ababa Road, Industrial Area. We have a branch at Mombasa Road, right opposite Panari. And then we have others. We have Ngong Road, just behind Ola petrol station. We have Ojijo Road. We also have Mombasa in Nyali, Links Road. And then coupled with that, we have a dealer network that we use to roll out our products across the country.
For a great time with all your passion for bikes and cars and all types of vehicles, you will get the best experience at the annual Digger Motor Show with fellow petrol heads. Whether just to buy or to experience great motor engineering, find your way to KICC from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd July 2023 and be a part of the Grand Motor Show where business thrives and fun stays alive. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723803601 or email cnyandieka@standardmedia.co.ke. You are watching KTN News. Prepare yourself for an electrifying experience that will rev up your engines and leave you breathless. The second Digger Motor Show is here to take you on a thrilling journey through the world of automotive excellence. Check out the sleek and sophisticated luxury cars and witness the unveiling of the hottest new models from renowned manufacturers, each one pushing the boundaries of style and performance. Mark your calendars for the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 at the KICC and get behind the wheel of your dream car. Be ready to experience the second edition of the Digger Motor Show. Come and ignite your passion for cars. You don't want to miss a single moment. To book your space or get more details, call Caroline Nyandieka on 0723 803601. KTN News. Get the whole story.
Good morning. It is the 7th day of July, and today in history, specifically 33 years ago, Kenyans took to the streets to demand free elections, giving birth to the Sabasaba spirit. Now, scenes that could be witnessed today as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition called for nationwide protests, launching a political battle against President William Ruto's government. The Azimio team, backed by civil society groups, are planning to protest over the high cost of living and the Finance Act 2023. The KTN News team is on the ground following up on these events and more. Welcome to News Diary. I'm Ashley Mazuri. Now, before we head to our locations, let's just give you a bit of some stories. Now, it is all systems go ahead of today's Sabasaba rally meant to protest against the President William Ruto's administration and his policies at the Kamkunji grounds. Speaking after an inspection of the rally's venue, several opposition members of parliament asked supporters to turn up in their numbers today, terming the rally as the beginning of another liberation. KTN's political affairs reporter David Mudoka was at the Kamkunji grounds and filed this following story.
With few hours left to Friday's Sabasaba rally, the opposition has given the green light to the event to be held at the Kamukunji grounds. Speaking after an inspection of the grounds, several opposition MPs called on their supporters to troop to Kamukunji for the anti-President William Ruto rally, set to be attended by opposition leaders Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, among others.
It will be a very peaceful rally tomorrow. By 9 we should be here. This will be a day that we begin a new beginning in our political operations.
Hiyo sovereignty na uchaguzi tuliwapatia, we are now withdrawing it, and we are the people. Unasikia vizuri? We are the people.
According to the leaders, similar rallies will be held across the country. This as they hinted that the Kamukunji rally will culminate in a march to the Nairobi Central Business District.
Kesho, the only traffic we need is the traffic of the people. We don't need watu wa magari, wekeni magari nyumbani, utoke huko nyumbani, fuel iko juu. Kesho kujeni mfike hapa Kamukunji.
Na tukishamaliza rally ya kesho, tutakuwa na maandamano ya amani kuelekea sehemu ya town ili kuweza kuona watu ambao wataungana sisi.
This comes on a day when several civil society groups announced that they will join the opposition's rallies to protest against the high cost of living and the government of the day.
The problem is not economy. The problem is not COVID. The problem is not multi-party. The problem is one William Ruto. Raila Odinga has been wrong on many things, but he's right about this one. If the common enemy is one William Ruto, then why are you fighting what is not the problem?
Tomorrow, all eyes will be at Kamukunji to see what next for the opposition in its anti-government plans, as well as across the country to see which other parts will take part in the Sabasaba rally. 12 hours before Sabasaba Friday, this is the situation at Kamukunji grounds, where just a handful of people are congregating. But come tomorrow, Azimio leaders are confident that these very grounds will be full to the brim as they urge supporters and Kenyans at large to join in their cause. David Muthoka, KTN News at Kamukunji grounds in Shauri Moyo, Nairobi.
All right, let's now head to Mombasa County, where I understand protests have begun. Tobias Chanji now joins us live. Chanji, good morning. Where exactly are you and what is happening?
A very good morning, Ashley. Indeed, I'm at the famous Mapembeni here on the Moi Avenue, where a section of the civil society was supposed to have a procession from this particular place to the county commissioner's office to give the letter that they detailed their concerns over the financial act and the hard economic times. A few minutes ago, we got a contingent of policemen who are surrounded this particular place. Remember, the civil society had notified the police on Wednesday, but last night we understand that they were told that this procession should be called off. Let's just listen to some of the reactions concerning this procession. Tuanze na majina yako na tueleze kuhusiana na mmejiandaa vipi siku hii ya leo.
Naam, kwa majina naitwa Francis Auma. Mimi ni mkereketo, nafanya na shirika la Moore. Tuko hapa na wananchi ordinary. Ofisi ya Senate iko hapa, vijana president wao yuko hapa, maendeleo wanawake wako hapa, na civil society wote wa pwani wako hapa. Leo maudhui, shabaha, lengo, dhamira ni kufanya maandamano ya amani kuhusiana na vile hali ya maisha ilivyo hapa Kenya. Wakenya wamechoka, punda wamechoka, mafuta imepanda na kuna a lot of impunity kwa hii serikali ya Ruto. Kwa hivyo tuko hapa leo kuregister na kuungana na Wakenya wengine kwa maandamano ya Sabasaba ili tupaze sauti moja, na sio mwisho, ndio mwanzo. Hebu ndugu yangu pia aelezee kwa vile mambo yanavyoendelea.
Ndiyo, ni kweli kabisa. Leo tumekuja hapa kama vijana, kama wamama, kama wenyeji wa Mombasa ili kuhakikisha kwamba sauti zetu zinasikika, kwa sababu mpaka sasa tunachajiwa pesa nyingi sana kama taxes. Tunalipishwa taxi kwenye mishahara, tunalipishwa tax kwenda kununua unga katika kule supermarket na maduka. Kwa hivyo tunasema kwamba hii lazima ishuke, kwa sababu hatuwezi kuendelea kulipa mtu mshahara ambaye ni president wa hii nchi na hadeliver on his mandate, kwa sababu mwisho wa siku mtu unayemlipa na afanyi kazi ni either aende nyumbani ama apishe mtu mwingine ambaye atafanya kazi vizuri. Ndio maana tuko hapa leo, ndio maana tumejitokeza. Wakenya watu wa Mombasa, leo ndio siku.
Awali ulikuwa umesema kwa polisi wamefutilia mbali maandamano haya.
Hapana, polisi hawajafutilia mbali, kwa sababu ukitaka kufutilia mbali wakati mtu amekupatia barua kuwa notification, inatakana umwandikie barua umwambie kuwa imefutilia mbali. Amepiga simu sijui ni nani, kwa hivyo sijui ni nani alipiga simu. Maandamano yanaendelea. Sisi tunataka hali ya uchumi irudi chini, watu waweze kununua vyakula kwa bei rahisi, bei ya mafuta ishuke chini. Kwa hivyo maandamano ya leo ni ya kumake sure rais amerepeal Finance Act 2023, na pia rais ameweka mikakati ya kumake sure kuwa bei ya vyakula na vitu muhimu hapa Kenya imerudi chini, na sio tafadhali.
Asante. Mimi nitakuhakikishia wananchi wa Mombasa na Kenya nzima kwa niaba ya vijana, maandamano yetu ni ya amani. Na mimi nawasihi wanabiashara, fungueni biashara zenu. Sisi tumekuja na nia moja ya amani, tutaandamana kwa sababu hii si maandamano ya wanasiasa, hii ni maandamano ya wananchi wa watu wa Mombasa na watu wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo wanabiashara, fungueni biashara yenu. Vijana tuko peaceful, tutaandamana vizuri ili hali yetu irudi vizuri. Asanteni.
Labda tuelezee ratiba siku ya leo. Sogea hapa tuanze na majina yako.
Kwa majina naitwa Momo Zaro, natoka katika ofisi ya Senator. Ndio mjue Senator iko na wananchi, kwa sababu haya maisha yametusonga sana. Huwezi kuwa utakuwa unafanya kazi na ukitoka ukirudi nyumbani unarudi na nusu mkate. Nusu mkate utalisha vipi ikiwa nyumba nzima pesa ni nusu mkate? Kwa hivyo tunaomba bidhaa zote zishuke. Ikiwa ni mafuta yashuke, angalau maisha ya chini na sisi wananchi tuwe na afadhali afueni ya maisha. Kwa hivyo sisi kama ofisi ya Senator tuko pamoja na nyinyi na tuko ngangari. Wananchi! Wananchi!
Mimi naitwa Oginga Randiki. Mimi ni grassroots advisor ya Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Mimi niko hapa pamoja na wenzangu kufanya maandamano against a finance bill 2023. Sisi kama wananchi wa Kenya hatutaki propaganda kwati, hatutaki kulipa kodi. Kodi tutalipa, lakini tunamandana sababu ya overtaxation. Asante sana.
Shukran. Well, actually we've had those section of the civil society from Mombasa and also representatives of politicians who assemble here at the Mapembeni. And as I said earlier, they're doing a procession from here going to the county commissioner's office. And though they had notified the police, they've said that they received some calls last night telling them to call off this procession. But we'll be just keeping vigil here to make sure that we'll be notifying our audience what will be happening from this county 001. Yesterday we also told that a similar procession will also be in Kwale and Kilifi, and we'll be closely watching what is happening in those counties. It's back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Tobias Chanji, for that. Of course, that is the situation in Mombasa, as you've heard from those civil society groups. They're lamenting the fact that the police had given them a green light to hold their protests. But of course, as of yesterday evening, that particular green light was revoked. So we continue monitoring that particular situation in Mombasa. But from Mombasa, let's head all the way to Nyeri County. Clement Masombo now joins us live. Clement, good morning. What's happening in Nyeri?
Good morning to you, Ashley. In Nyeri, there are no demos here, the Sabasaba demos, as it expected, of course, after the opposition leader Raila Odinga and other leaders called for Kenyans to turn out in large numbers, of course, to take part in those Sabasaba demonstrations over the alleged high cost of living, among other issues that they are claiming, or they are crying out from the national government, from the Kenya Kwanza administration. And this morning, I want to engage one gentleman who was there during the first Sabasaba, that is about 33 years ago in 1990, that is Wambogo Nyamu, who will be telling us. We want to find out if actually as a region, as a Mount Kenya region, we have achieved whatever that we were pushing for. So thank you so much for joining us here on KTN News. You took part in the first demos in 1990, and as a region, what were some of the issues that you were calling for, and have we achieved them as a region?
Thanks, Clement. I recall very well, in 1990, we were fighting for freedom and for multi-party. Those were the days here in central Kenya, in Mount Kenya region. You could not even hold a family get-together without the consent of the chief and the dreaded Kanu youth wingers. And I remember in those days, you could not even sit in a hotel, more than 5 people in one table. There was a dreaded group called the Special Branch. They would ask you what you are discussing. You could not even do the two-finger salute. Remember, there were even some Barangetun who used to say, you do the two-finger salute to your cat. And it came after the Mlolongo elections of 1988, which is the first election I took part in. And the Mlolongo was just a farce. Literally, the smallest line would win the elections. And I remember it's after that we started now agitating for free and fair elections. We started agitating for multi-party, because those were the days of the dominance of Kanu one-party rule, and it was pure tyranny. And I also remember it's the time I left university. I remember before 1990, those who graduated in 1989, they used to get automatic jobs. So when I graduated from the university in 1990, we were the first group that never got automatic employment. So most of us went for manual jobs, and those were the days when graduates started going for manual jobs. We started going for Mjengo jobs. We became hawkers. And I recall that time I was a hawker in Gekombak, the Pumwani area. And I remember the agitation now to do the Sabasaba came as a result of what happened in February 1990. After the death of Ouko, of course, the state was shaken because it was involved in death of Ouko. And before that, we never used to hold Maandamanos. And because Moi wanted to cover himself up because of the death of Ouko, he allowed us to do Maandamanos in February 1990. And I remember I led the demos from Egerton University to Nakuru town, 27 kilometers, demonstrating against the murder of Ouko. And I remember he used to sing, why murder, why kill him, Ouko. So that one gave us the morale now in July 1990 now to go for Maandamano. And I recall that day, there was organization because there was a fort that was meeting in Ajip House, and there was a lot of wars those times because of it. And I remember we had agreed that the big team would come, and they came in a pickup through the land highs and the Shauri Moyo area. Then us now, the Juakali people, we had our strategy, and we woke up very early. By 6 we were in Gekomba and Pumwani. And now the Askaris were the other side of Shauri Moyo. They had covered the ground now from the river, Shauri Moyo area. Nobody bothered about the Komba area. So we organized a gang. So by the time now the Shikukus were coming, the police concentrated on land highs. We crossed the river, and it was swollen. In July, it was swollen. So we had laid stones and made our own two channels. We crossed the river. We went inside Kamukuji ground, and we shouted with our two-finger salute. And we felt satisfied that we have defied Moi, and we have been able to reach Kamukuji grounds. And I remember it was very satisfying because we were annoyed. And we were literally agitated because of the dictatorship that was there. It was pure tyranny. And I think we achieved, because after that, we never stopped. Actually, I remember from that time, we continued on street protests. And we continued and continued. We did it from 1990, we did it in 1991, until now Moi consented to multi-party repealing of Section 2A in December 1991. That's when he consented to the repealing. So something we did for one day. We started with Ouko in February 1990, and we continued until Section 2A was repealed in December 1991. And I think as a region we achieved, because after that, I could meet my brothers and sisters, have a kambuzi without necessarily alerting the chief. The Kano Youth Wing, that strong tyranny started collapsing. The special branch stopped harassing us in hotels and bars. So that time we achieved exactly what we wanted, because we got multi-party, we got the freedom of speech, and we got the freedom of association.
And taking a look at whatever you were agitating for then and whatever is happening today, look at some of the issues that have been highlighted by the opposition leader Raila Odinga. What do you make? What stands out when you compare the two?
I would say, we have a constitution that gives us the right to picket and the right to association. And the constitution in this Kenya, currently, it is supreme. And nobody can stop people from holding meetings and picketing. All that you need to do is alert, not get a license, is alert the OCS that you shall be holding a meeting. And I think these people are genuine. The cost of living is astronomical. Things are bad. I can tell you, the big car I drive, these days I don't drive it anyway, the 3-liter engine, it used to cost me about 7,000 to go to Nairobi and back. And now it's going to, that is about 2 years ago. And now it is costing me about 12,000. So I stopped using it now. I've gone for a small car. I've gone for a fielder, at least so that I can use about 4,000 to 5,000 consumption if I'm going around Nairobi. So the situation is bad. And the cost of food, it's also high. Although we are a bit, you can thank God because he has given us rains. You can see it is chilly here. But you go to Kenya here, maize has dried up. It is not as good as it is in the lower part of Nyeri. You go to the dry areas, maize has dried up. Although they were able to harvest potatoes, they were able to harvest those short-term crops. Maize actually didn't perform well. Grass has started drying in dry areas. So, and the cost of living is just too high. Because, like we said last time, the moment you increase the cost of fuel, automatically everything shoots up. Automatically everything shoots up. And it's bad. And I've been talking even to those who are diehards, and I can see they are also getting agitated. And unless the state does something, even the so-called supporters will join in the protests very soon. In fact, I've been talking to some of them, and they're not very happy. Because this government, I think it lied too much. It promised You know, I don't even think you do that when you're wooing a girl. There's some level of lies you should not tell even the girl you're wooing. If you're wooing a girl or a girl is being wooed by a boy, there are some things you don't, there's some lies you don't say, because now it looks like our people are defranchised. They have lost hope. You know, they're just there. In fact, they don't even want to go to the streets. They are complaining quietly. They don't want to go. They're hungry. They are imagining if we go, we are going to get hungry. But the fact that you're not in demos here in Yeri doesn't mean that it is quiet. My friend, I tell you, unless these guys do something, even the quietness you're seeing in Yeri is going to dissipate it. Don't forget, in the 1990s, Yeri kept quiet and the Central kept quiet until a point now. When Matiba was arrested, you remember, it was in, I think, April or May 1990, and the whole region erupted. Our region is hard hit. And it is not good. And eruption can come up anytime.
All right, thank you so much. Of course, that is Wambugu Nyamu from Nyeri here, and one of the people who participated in the 1990 Sabasaba demos. And of course, he is saying that the quietness or the failure of Nyeri not to participate in this year's demos does not mean that the people from Nyeri are happy. They are hurting from whatever that is happening in the country as far as the high cost of living is concerned. So from here, we will be heading to Karatina to see what is happening in Karatina. Remember, Karatina is the hometown of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and we'll be speaking to residents there to hear their views on what they think about these Sabasaba demos. Over to you, Ashley.
All right, thank you so much, Clement Masombo, for that. And of course, even as you go to Karatina, we'll keep on monitoring that situation. But that was Clement Masombo speaking to Wambugu Nyamu, who took us down memory lane, just remembering how it was in 1990 during the Sabasaba protest. But as we monitor on that, let's look at other stories, and specifically in education. A raft of radical changes in the implementation of the competency-based curriculum will see a reduction in the number of subjects taught in schools and more emphasis placed on final examinations in junior and senior secondary schools. The Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms is proposing that at the end of junior secondary, the learners will sit a final assessment, similar to the KCPE under 844, which will make up to 60% of their final score, while the remaining 40% will be sourced from assessments conducted at the end of grade 7 and 8. Shadrach Niti explains.
The changes are part of a draft report by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms, which is still being refined and fine-tuned before it is handed over to the President and subsequently officially made public. Under the proposed reforms, there will be changes in testing learners, with grade 6 learners sitting the Kenya Primary Schools Education Assessment KPSEA solely for monitoring their progress. However, the assessment will not in any way inform their transition to the next level, as the progress to junior secondary will be automatic. And there could be a complete shift in the management and assessment of exams, with the Kenya National Examination Council set to be renamed the Kenya National Assessment Council, which will administer all the final exams and assessments. At the end of junior secondary, the learners will sit a final assessment similar to the KCPE under 844, but will only make up to 60% of their final score. The remaining 40% will be from assessment conducted at the end of grade 7 and 8. The summative result will give the learners their final score and will be important in informing which senior secondary school they will join. This will be another deviation from the previous arrangement, which had recommended that the final assessment carries only 40% of the final mark, as the remaining 60% fetched from the classroom assessment. At grade 12, which is the end of senior secondary school, the learners will also take a summative examination similar to KCSE that will carry 70% of their final mark. The remaining 30% will be from the school-based assessment and competencies they will have shown throughout their education journey. The change marks a major shift from the initial design of the CBC that envisioned an end to high-stakes examinations. Sources have informed us that the changes in the structure and arrangement of assessment were informed by the concerns raised over the integrity of school-based assessment, following fears of compromised scores uploaded by the teachers to the Kenya National Examination Council portal. The Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms also proposes a significant reduction in the number of subjects to be taught in primary and secondary schools. Initially, learners in grades 1 to 3 were required to take up to 8 subjects, with those in upper primary taking 10 compulsory subjects. Junior secondary had 12 compulsory subjects. The team is proposing 5 subjects in pre-primary, 7 subjects for grade 1 to grade 3, and 8 subjects for grade 4 to grade 6. Meanwhile, those in junior secondary will have to take not more than 9 subjects, while senior secondary learners will take 7 subjects, depending on the pathway of their choices. At the same time, the Ministry of Education will be required to establish a comprehensive school system that will see the management of pre-primary, primary, and junior secondary school rolled into one institution with a single head teacher assisted by 2 deputies. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
The Teachers Service Commission says it plans to hire 111,870 teachers in the next 5 years at a cost of 73.8 billion shillings. Now, speaking during the launch of the 2023-2027 strategic plan, TSC Chief Executive Officer Nancy Macharia said the commission is determined to ensure Kenyan teachers are motivated, ethical, and globally motivated. Meanwhile, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has called on the Teachers Service to closely work with key stakeholders to ensure industrial harmony.
Project to recruit a total of 111,870 teachers. I'm happy to report that in this financial year, the TSC has been allocated 4.68 billion for the recruitment of the 20,000 intern teachers. And for the successful implementation of this plan over the next 5 years, the Commission will require Your Excellency, and we need your support because our students must learn, they are our children. We require a total of 134 billion.
That number is very conservative in my view. I'm sure with the time the numbers may be even larger. Remember, we have a new level there, JSS, that will require a complete big team of teachers to manage that sector.
It resonates with us as a private schools association that our schools and our directors need to come up with teachers who are highly motivated, teachers who are highly competent, and also acceptable for the sake, globally acceptable for the sake of having quality education for our learners in the country and also across board.
Surely, disrupting the education of innocence when you could talk through an issue cannot be the reason for your existence. In other words, between education stakeholders, there should never be a moment when we refuse to talk with each other.
Well, you're watching News Diary. Thank you for staying with us this far. We take a short commercial break. I'll be back shortly with more news updates.
KTN News. Get the whole story. When it comes to your motoring needs and likes, there is only one place where you will find the best automotive dealers and enthusiasts alike. You'll enjoy the best deals on vehicles, spare parts, insurance, and asset financing tailored to fit all your needs, all at the Ticker Motor Show. It's the place you will want to be on the 20th of July, 2023.
Jack Motors, we are the authorized distributor for light trucks and pickups in Kenya. The manufacturer is JSC Motors, which is based in FA, China, with a wide range of products. In our showroom, we do have N75 4-ton truck, and we also have T8 2000cc diesel turbo double cab. Other than the diesel versions, we have electric. The first double cab and 4-ton truck electric in Eastern Central Africa. Yeah, we have branches in Mombasa, Kisumu, and also here in Nairobi we have a branch along Mombasa Road and another one at Parklands. But our HQ is located at the River Road, just next to Subaru Kenya.
For a great time worth all your passion for bikes and cars and all types of vehicles, you will get the best experience at the annual Digger Motor Show with fellow petrolheads. Whether just to buy or to experience great motor engineering, find your way to KICC from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd July 2023. And participation, contact Caroline on 0723803601 or email cnyandieka@standardmedia.co.ke. Property buying tips brought to you by Safaricom Investment Cooperative. 1. Understand what you can afford. 2. Find an agent that fits your personality. 3. Factor in all costs. 4. Save for a down payment. 5. Understand your loan options.
Prices ranging from 3.2 million for studio apartment to a favorable 6.5 million for 2-bedroom, the Miran Residence is the perfect investment suited for you. To book your unit, call 0729-121212. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with News Diary. Now to more stories. The government has committed to turn around the fortunes of tea farmers in the country. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua made this assurance when he opened a 2-day tea conference in Kericho. Gachagua said that the current administration will fully implement the Tea Act, which is yet to take effect. During the event, farmers trained their guns on the Kenya Tea Development Agency, blaming it for their woes. Ken Gashuhi reports.
Tea farmers may soon reap big from their sweat if the commitment made by the government on tea reforms is anything to go by. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said that full implementation of the Tea Act of 2020 will go a long way in boosting farmers' earnings.
That the reforms we are going to agree on, our 2 houses of parliament where we have the majority, the Senate and the National Assembly, will make the various amendments into law. Thereafter, the President and I and the ministers responsible will ensure 100% compliance.
Gachagua spoke in Kericho when he officially opened the inaugural tea conference. During the event, farmers took KTDA officials to task over delayed payments.
We will ensure if it follows like the way you have put it, then we'll work backwards so that by 5th we pay the farmers.
I think, CEO, the way you need to frame it is on or before 5th.
The farmers accused the agency of taking over the roles of smallholder tea factories, thereby affecting their service delivery.
The mandate has been taken away by KTDA Management Services. And that is the problem, because the work of making sure that procurement is done is the work of the board.
Yes.
The work of making sure that tea is collected in time is the work of the board. But if you now deliver it, take it to MS, they have bitten more than they can chew.
You will find a driver is the one who stops there, anatoa hiyo kilo, anapimia mkulima. Mkulima unajua akishapima chai yake, anaenda kutengenezea watoto chakula. Anamuacha akiload 200 bags of tea alone.
KTDA CEO Wilson Mudhaura also faced a hard time explaining the continued loss-making by its subsidiary companies and unclear disbursement of dividends.
So out of the 8, how many subsidiaries are profit-making? How many are loss-making?
I said there are two, but I gave reasons. I told you the reason is that all the hydro projects stalled. But right now, they have come on back. We have one which is coming up in Kisii. It's already started generating income. So when all of them become operational, I can assure these farmers, those dividends will be very huge for them in terms of savings.
These dividends you claim to have declared from all these subsidiaries, how do you ensure that the dividend ends up with the farmer?
A section of the leaders called for establishment of more tea auctions in the country.
The auctioning system as we have it today is overshadowed by a lot of opaqueness. We need to bring transparency into it. We need even to open up that the auction is not basically done in Mombasa alone, but we open up other sub-sectors, markets where it can be done, so that we'll create a kind of a mechanism that will allow for competition.
Ken Gashui, KTN News, Kericho County.
To security matters, at least 20 suspected Al-Shabaab militants were last evening killed during a clash with security officers in Mandera. A statement by police spokeswoman Dr. Resla Onyango says the militants were killed as they attempted to ambush a special operations group at Ogorwen area within Mandera County. She says that the special forces were pursuing a gang that had earlier on attacked the area. Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki, who is on an official tour of Turkana County, has said the war against Al-Shabaab and other criminals will be enhanced, as Willie Lusige reports.
Kenya's security agencies recorded a major win against Al-Shabaab when they killed 20 militants in Mandera County. Reports say there was a heavy exchange of fire between the militants and special team of security personnel on Wednesday evening at Ogorwen location. During the fire exchange, 8 police officers were injured, according to police spokesperson Resla Onyango. The officers were pursuing the gang when they were attacked with a rocket-propelled grenade, prompting the clash. The injured officers were taken to local hospital before their evacuation to Nairobi. A submachine gun and an RPG were among the items recovered at the scene. The bodies of the terrorists were later processed for burial. On Thursday, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, while on a trip to Turkana County to install the first Deputy County Commissioner, said the government won't relent in the war against militia groups and bandits.
Wale wakora ambao wanaangamiza watu pale wanajificha katika Turkana South Game Reserve, ndio wafanya ile uhalifu ambao wanafanyia wananchi katikati ya Kainuk na Kakomu.
Kindiki has also announced plans to ban members of public from grazing or living within KWS forest located in South Turkana after local leaders warned that the forest has been the hiding place for bandits who have been attacking those using the famous Lodwar-Kitale highway.
Our Turkana Game Reserve, ndovu wetu wote wameuliwa, swara wetu wote wameuliwa, wanyama wengi ambao walikuwa mamahelu wote wameuliwa na watu hawana haja kuona Turkana wakiwa na resource kama Game Reserve. Kwa hivyo watu hawa watolewe kwa uwanja huo,
na tutafurusha everybody who is inside that Turkana South Game Reserve. Kila mtu atatoka pale. Wanyatabaki pale ni wanyama wa porini.
All eyes are set on Kindiki to see how he'll be able to sort out the resurgence of the terror attacks, especially at the border towns such as Mandera and Lamu.
Imagine askari wanapiga hapa leo, wanakimbia, wanasumbuka na kuja wanapiga magari. Sasa ni mchezo wa paka na panya.
Willie Lusige, KTN News in Nairobi.
A court sitting in Nairobi has found suspects in the 273 million shillings City Council of Nairobi Cemetery scandal guilty of the offense. In her ruling, Justice Esther Maina has further ordered Nineric Limited and its director Maina Chege to repay 9.4 million together with costs and interest from the date of receipt of the monies in 2012. The recovery suits against the other beneficiaries are at various stages of hearing in the High Court. Our investigative reporter Ode Francis has details about the cemetery scandal.
The High Court has ordered the recovery and refund of 9.4 million shillings in a case won against a private company named Nine Rich Limited and its director Maina Chege. In the cemetery scandal, the then town clerk of the defunct City Council of Nairobi allegedly received 283 million shillings from the then permanent secretary of the Ministry of Local Government, being payment for the purchase of land for use and public cemetery. Officials in the City Council working in cahoots with other persons allegedly hatched a fraudulent scheme where they purchased land worth 110 million shillings and the remaining 173 million shillings distributed to various private companies, individuals and public officers. From the amount shared, Nine Rich Limited received 9.45 million shillings. The company and its director Maina Chege are said to have corruptly, illegally and fraudulently received 9.4 million shillings belonging to the City Council of Nairobi, meant for the purchase of public cemetery land. The High Court has agreed that the defendant were liable for illicit enrichment as they were not entitled to the funds they received. The prosecution established that the land offered by Nine Rich Limited for purchase to be used as a public cemetery had 2.5 feet cotton soil and 2.5 feet rocks, and therefore did not meet the criteria set by the tender document on soil suitability for a cemetery. Investigations reveal that the first fraud committed was the presentation of a forged letter by Alphonse Mutinda Advocates, falsely informing the City Council that the registered owner of the land, Henry Kilonzo, had appointed Nine Rich Limited as its agent to participate in the tender and bid on his behalf. The agreement for the sale, dated 19th of December 2008, was for the sale of cemetery land measuring 120 acres at a purchase price of 110 million shillings. Another sale agreement was entered at the same day, allegedly between Henry Kilonzo and the City Council of Nairobi for the same land measuring 120 acres at a purchase price of 283.2 million shillings. Investigations established that the sale agreement between Henry Kilonzo and Nine Rich Limited was genuine, but Henry Kilonzo never entered into any agreement with the City Council of Nairobi, and that the signature against his name in the purported agreement for 283 million shillings was not his. The signature was confirmed through document examination to be a forgery. For the exaggerated price of 283 million shillings, 110 million went to the purchase of the cemetery land, while 173 million shillings. Justice Esther Maina has now ordered Nine Rich Limited and its director Maina Chege to pay 9.4 million shillings, together with cost and interest from the date of receipt of monies in 2012. This is one of the 9 suits filed by EACC to recover a total of 173 million fraudulently acquired in illegal purchase of public cemetery land by the defunct City Council of Nairobi. Ode Francis, KTN.
All right, thank you so much, Ode Francis, for that. Just an update on the rallies that have been planned today and the nationwide protests that have been called by the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition. And here in Nairobi, the latest is the fact that the Nairobi police boss Adamson Bungei has said that the Kamkuji rally is legal, but participants won't be allowed into CBD, and equally there is heightened security and State House Road is equally blocked. So if you want to use that particular route, please just rethink your whole strategy of how you're going to be moving around. But we will be continuing monitoring the situation in Mombasa, I understand. Let's just cross over live and listen.
So I don't know whether you have another arrangement.
Kama yuko pale, any government official, any government of civil servant can take that na peleka. Hata wewe.
Now you can give me.
Ya basi wewe tungoje pale mbele. Sasa hivi.
Because
kidogo.
Remember, Mombasa is the second city.
Yes.
And it is very busy.
Asante.
By the time you close the roads.
Hatufungi.
Now
Hatufungi barabara. Hatufungi barabara. Hatufungi. Wewe tungoje pale mbele tukupatie. Pale Fontanella. Fontanella roundabout. Fontanella roundabout. Asante. Kwa maji tu. Kwa maana tuna shida. Wewe tungoje pale na gari yako na watu wako, tunakuja. Tunakuja.
Swahili ndio wamefanya maandamano yao. Sisi tuna cooperate. We want to help you do your work. Sisi hata kama ni kuweka barabara katikati hivi magari zipite, sisi tunaendelea.
Hatuna shida na mtu.
Tuna offer maximum protection pia kwa protect nyinyi pia wananchi wa.
Hatutaki shida Mombasa. Hatutaki shida.
In the next 30 minutes we are done.
Yeah.
Mimi naomba kabisa mkuwe na amani. Hii Mombasa ni yenu.
Asante.
Na biashara ya mtu mzima.
Hakuna shida.
So ile kitu iko sababu na yuko.
Ndio.
Mimi ningeomba.
Utakupokea?
Ningeomba kabisa.
Uipokee.
Hiyo barua mngepea mtu mwingine kama wewe.
Ndio.
Akiingia umpelekee.
Asante.
Kama leo wewe.
Asante.
Ile siku hata ikiwa ni kesho akiingia umpelekee.
Inshallah.
Kitu naona hata saa hii.
Ndio.
Uko na kazi ya kusema. This is enough.
Asante.
Umeona?
Ndio.
Break.
Ndio. Pale pale duty sasa. Maana kwa ngoja
Acha tuende.
Hataki fujo.
Nenda pole pole.
Pale tuache. Tuache ni mbali.
Naenda tu pole pole.
Fontanella.
Bei ya mafuta.
Well, that is Joseph Mtungi, who's the OCPD Kisauni constituency, standing in for the Central Police Station OCPD, and he was trying to just convince the protesters to not to interfere with the traffic, or rather give the information that they're supposed to give to the county commissioner, because the county commissioner is allegedly not around, but they've sorted this out, and they've started a procession towards the county commissioner's office.
Those are live pictures from Mombasa. There you saw the civil society groups engage with the police officers, talking about the way forward, how exactly they're going to be having that police, the peaceful protest, I beg your pardon. Just to give you a context of that matter, earlier on we spoke to Tobias Chanji, and we equally had the civil society group members, say that they had been given a green light to hold their protests in peace. But as of yesterday night, that particular green light went to red, so they were told to halt their protest. But as you've seen there, live pictures from Mombasa, they're continuing with their peaceful protests. They have told the OCPD Kisauni constituency that, of course, they will be peaceful, they will not disturb any businesses. And of course, we continue monitoring that situation in Mombasa. But earlier on, we equally went to Nyeri, and we discovered that nothing is happening as of yet. No protest happening in Nyeri, but the latest in Nairobi is that Nairobi police boss, that is Adamson Bungei, said that the Kamkunji rally is legal, but participants won't be allowed into the CBD. The security has been heightened in parts of the country, here in Nairobi, in Mombasa, as you saw. And of course, they did mention that the State House Road is going to be blocked. So those are some of the issues that we're going to be following up on, even as we continue interrogating the significance of this protest on such a day. Remember, this is Sabasaba, a day that has been remembered in history. Those are live pictures in Mombasa. You're seeing the situation there, protesters, being, I'm trying to find out what is happening. Maybe we can listen in to know what exactly is happening there in Mombasa. We are seeing police together with protesters just minutes after they had, agreed to have peaceful protests. As you can see there, the police are ready for war, if we can say that as such. But that is the situation in Mombasa. As you can see, the protesters are being allowed to continue with their peaceful protests, but under tight security as they are following the protesters. Earlier on they had said that they're going to Fontanella, so let's wait and see. That is the situation in Mombasa. But we continue monitoring the situation not only in Mombasa, but equally in other parts of the country. So let's just listen in to what exactly is happening. All right, live pictures from Mombasa there. The protests have begun, and of course they're going on peacefully as they had agreed with the police, that is the OCPD of Kisauni constituency, just a few minutes ago. And of course they proposed that they will be, holding their protests peacefully without interfering with businesses or events that are happening in Mombasa currently. But we continue monitoring that situation, not only in Mombasa, but equally in Nairobi and other parts of the country. Remember, in Nairobi, the police force has said that the Kamkunji rally is legal, but they will not be allowed into the CBD. And of course, there's heightened security, and equally, the State House Road will be blocked. So let's keep on monitoring those events, and we'll be, giving you the details as of when we get them. We want to take a short break. I'll be back shortly with more updates.
KTN News. Get the whole story. When it comes to your motoring needs and likes, there is only one place where you will find the best automotive dealers and enthusiasts alike. You'll enjoy the best deals on vehicles, spare parts, insurance, and asset financing tailored to fit all your needs, all at the Digger Motor Show. It's the place you will want to be on the 20th of July, 2023.
Subaru Kenya is the authorized Subaru genuine dealer for Kenya and Uganda. So we basically deal with new vehicle sales, spare parts, and we also have service. For our parts, we deal with strictly genuine Subaru from Japan, and the beauty about genuine parts is they guarantee you peace of mind. They are reliable. In terms of functionality, they give your car optimal performance as per the manufacturer spec, and of course, looking at the overall cost of it all, it is the best way to go because it ensures that your car has a long lifespan, giving you service over a long period of time. We have locations across the country, starting with our branch network. So our headquarters is at Addis Ababa Road, Industrial Area. We have a branch at Mombasa Road, right opposite Panari. And then we have others. We have Gong Road, just behind Ola Petrol Station. We have Ojijo Road. We also have Mombasa in Nyale, Links Road. And then coupled with that, we have a dealer network that we use to roll out our products across the country.
For a great time with all your passion for bikes and cars and all types of vehicles, you will get the best experience at the annual Digger Motor Show with fellow petrolheads. Whether just to buy or to experience great motor engineering, find your way to KICC from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd July 2023 and be a part of the Grand Motor Show where business thrives and fun stays alive. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723803601 or email cnyandieka@standardmedia.co.ke.
Africa Speaks, a groundbreaking show that brings you the beauty, diversity, and untold stories of Africa like never before. From the sprawling savannas to the bustling cities, from ancient traditions to modern innovations, Africa Speaks captures the essence of this magnificent continent done by Africans from an African perspective. Journey with us to the continent's tourist attraction and historical sites through Destination Africa. Learn from our ancestors' wise words on Proverb of the Day. Africa Speaks, where the voice of Africa echoes around the world.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
The rapid climate change we are now seeing is caused by humans using oil, gas, and coal in their homes, factories, and transport. When these fossil fuels burn, they release greenhouse gases, mostly carbon dioxide. These gases trap the sun's heat and cause the planet's temperature to rise. The world is now about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the 19th century, and the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has risen by 50%.
When you hear climate change, it's very much about how climate now is basically posing an existential threat to human beings. We know now that human activities very much contribute to climate change.
In addition to drought, African populations are experiencing floods, heat waves, and outbreak of climate change-related diseases.
According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC report released in late March, it says the world temperatures need to come down as greenhouse gas emissions are projected to go above 1.5 degrees Celsius between the years 2030 and 2035, or even beyond, hence increasing global warming.
You hear mostly that we need to ensure that the temperatures remain at 1.5 C before our pre-industrial age. And so that means everything we do must be very much mitigated. That's why you hear mitigation. We have to adapt where we can. But because now we know that the planet is warming anyway, so there's something in the atmosphere, which is CO2. And so as much as we want to limit the emissions, we now must think of removing some of these emissions that we put in. So think about it as planetary waste removal.
To keep temperatures within 1.5 degrees Celsius limit, carbon emissions need to be reduced by at least 43% by 2030 and at least 60% by 2035. And this is the time to start making the changes. While speaking at the 3rd Regional Symposium on Greening Judiciaries in Africa, President William Ruto said countries have no option but to go green.
Do we continue the fossil fuel powered industrialization, which is destroying our globe with disastrous effects, or do we go green?
Governments agreed at last year's COP27 climate summit in Egypt to create a fund to help pay for the damage that a warming planet is inflicting on vulnerable countries, but failed to commit to new measures for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Africa is the least emitting continent, but bears the most burden of climate change.
We need to continuously have a political conversation that then ensures countries put laws and limits to how much we emit, and countries that emit more need to compensate or work with countries that emit less.
Among other measures to ensure energy systems are net zero carbon emitters, a substantial reduction in overall fossil fuel use, minimal use of unabated fossil fuels, and use of carbon capture and storage in the remaining fossil fuel systems, and energy conservation are part of the solutions fronted to reduce global warming.
You hear, don't pollute. Think about changing how you use energy, whether it's for even clean cooking technologies, how vehicles now have to emit less, but also go to electrical vehicles, how industries must now think about other alternative sources of energy that don't pollute the air. So it's an all-in effort. I think beyond industry, it's also how we live, how we work, how we learn.
There are quite a few people who pretend that they will never read the New Nairobian newspaper. But you and I know very well that they all do. The New Nairobian, out every Friday. Nothing stays hidden. Prepare yourself for an electrifying experience that will rev up your engines and leave you breathless. The second Digger Motor Show is here to take you on a thrilling journey through the world of automotive excellence. Check out the sleek and sophisticated luxury cars and witness the unveiling of the hottest new models from renowned manufacturers, each one pushing the boundaries of style and performance. Mark your calendars for the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 at the KICC and get behind the wheel of your dream car. Be ready to experience the second edition of the Digger Motor Show. Come and ignite your passion for cars. You don't want to miss a single moment. To book your space or get more details, call Caroline Nyandieka on 0723 803601. KTN News. Get the whole story.
Africa Speaks, a groundbreaking show that brings you the beauty, diversity, and untold stories of Africa like never before. From the sprawling savannas to the bustling cities, from ancient traditions to modern innovations, Africa Speaks captures the essence of this magnificent continent done by Africans from an African perspective. Journey with us to the continent's tourist attraction and historical sites through Destination Africa. Learn from our ancestors' wise words on Proverb of the Day. Africa Speaks, where the voice of Africa echoes around the world.
We value your feedback and welcome any comments, queries, or complaints regarding our news content. You can get in touch with us on SMS 22155.
Walinda usalama wakiwa wameshika doria maeneo tofauti, ikikumbukwa kwamba kiongozi wa Azimio Raila Odinga amependekeza kwa wananchi kuweza kufika Kamukunji na vile vile baadaye kufanya maandamano mpaka katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi. Tunakumbuka siku zilizotangulia maandamano haya hapa jijini yaliishia namna gani, kwa vurugu na vile vile vitoa machozi na kukimbizana na maafisa wa polisi na wengine kukamatwa. Hatujui hali itakuwaje, lakini tunao wanahabari kama nilivyosema wamekita kambi maeneo tofauti kutujuza atakaokuwa kijiri. Hii leo pia ikiwa ni siku ya 7 mwezi Julai, mwezi wa 7, pia vile vile ni siku ya kimataifa ya Kiswahili. Tutakueleza mengi kuhusiana na siku hii, maana UNESCO imeitaja siku hii kuweza kuenzi Kiswahili mahali popote tulipo. Wengi watakuwa wanazungumza Kiswahili, tutakuwa na wageni wetu wataalamu wa lugha ya Kiswahili kuweza kutufahamisha umuhimu wa siku hii. Na je, tumepiga hatua? Kuna semi zimekuweko za hapa na pale kuhusiana na Afrika Mashariki kuweza kuzungumza lugha moja ya Kiswahili. Je, tumefikia wapi? Vile vile katika shule, masomo na kadhalika, je, Kiswahili kinapewa kipaumbele au namna gani? Yote hayo ni baadaye, lakini kwa sasa tunataka tukupashe baadhi ya taarifa ambazo tumezipa kipaumbele. Mtazamaji, hii ni Sema na Citizen. Tunaanza taarifa zetu. Waziri wa mazingira na mabadiliko ya tabia nchi Soipan Tuya anasisitiza kuwa kuondolewa kwa marufuku ya kukata miti msituni hautaathiri hali ya misitu hapa nchini. Akizungumza katika eneo la North Horr katika kaunti ya Marsabit, waziri huyo amesema kuwa ukataji miti hautafanyika kwenye misitu asili.
Have within our gazetted forest 150,000 hectares of commercial plantations or industrial plantations. Within gazetted forests, we have a section that is commercial. And when you hear about the lifting of the ban on logging, it only applies to the commercial plantations, which upon putting of the moratorium, those plantations have not been touched since 2018. But now with the lift of the ban, we have trees that are overgrown in our commercial plantations. They have rotten away, and they are not everywhere. Yesterday we were in Marsabit. Marsabit it doesn't apply to Marsabit because the entire of Marsabit is an indigenous forest, okay? But there are 150,000 hectares are in bits and pieces.
Magari, wekeni magari nyumbani, utoke huko nyumbani, fuel liko juu. Kesho kujeni mfike hapa Kamukunji.
Na tukishamaliza rally ya kesho, tutakuwa na maandamano ya amani kuelekea sehemu ya town ili kuweza kuona watu ambao wataungana na sisi.
This comes on a day when several civil society groups announced that they will join the opposition's rallies to protest against the high cost of living and the government of the day.
The problem is not economy. The problem is not COVID. The problem is not multi-party. The problem is one William Ruto. Raila Odinga has been wrong on many things, but he's right about this one. If the common enemy is one William Ruto, then why are you fighting what is not the problem?
Tomorrow, all eyes will be at Kamukunji to see what next for the opposition. Anti-government plans as well as across the country to see which other parts will take part in the Sabasaba rally.
12 hours before Sabasaba Friday, this is the situation at Kamukunji grounds where just a handful of people are congregating. But come tomorrow, Azimio leaders are confident that these very grounds will be full to the brim as they urge supporters and Kenyans at large to join in their cause. David Muthoka, KTN News at Kamukunji grounds in Shauri Moyo, Nairobi.
As the opposition politicians and Raila Odinga's supporters move to protest against President William Ruto's newly announced tax measures, a section of clerics have urged them to conduct the activities responsibly to avoid destruction of property. The clerics, led by Bishop Dominion Karua from Great Army Church in Githurai, Kiambu County, upheld that while the opposition's call for mass protest is lawful, the same should be done responsibly to avoid plunging the country into anarchy.
Tutakuwa na demonstration both side wa serikali ama opposition. Mimi ningeomba niseme amani idumishwe na tusiharibu kitu ya mtu. Ni mzuri kwa sababu kila mtu ako na right yake, lakini amani idumishwe kila mahali. Tuchunge, tusiharibu vitu vile tumetengeneza. Hii nchi imetoka mbali sana. Mungu ako na kusudi juu ya nchi yetu. Tusiharibu nchi yetu.
I also support the opposition, but then we should have a responsible opposition. We don't want them to destroy people's property. We don't want them to destroy peace. Let them demonstrate. Let them forward their point, whatever they want to say. But then let us have peace. As our bishop has said, let us remember we have only one nation called Kenya, and we don't have another place to go.
Nataka congratulate serikali yetu. Kwanza kuna kazi inafanya. Hii kazi ya mambo ya pombe. Ana vijana walikuwa wamemalizwa na pombe. Tafadhali ninaomba community, kanisa na bodi zote kama zinaweza. Na nilisikia wazee kule Kiambu wakisema wameuga hiyo kitu mkono ili tuokoe vijana wetu.
A section of activists in Kisumu have warned police officers in Kisumu against engaging peaceful protesters on Sabasaba Day. Led by Boniface Ogutu, the activists have slammed police over past experiences, saying they have been engaging protesters in brutal fashion, leaving scores injured and even deaths recorded. They have asked police to give maximum security to peaceful protesters and arrest anybody found conducting criminal activities.
Leo ni leo, Maandamano. Leo ni leo, kuna mambo leo. Leo ni leo.
The police in Kisumu, we always know that it is you who always come out to riot. We want to ask you to conduct yourselves peacefully, to conduct yourselves professionally, and also within the law, as it is supposed to be. We don't want people dying tomorrow. We don't want gunshots. We don't want injuries. We don't want criminals to take advantage of a peaceful exercise. We don't want members of the public crying foul of hooliganism, of looting. It is your duty to protect. It is also your duty to create an environment where we, as members of the public, can come out and freely protest so that we are able to speak to this government about the issues that concern us and also suggest solutions as way forward.
Most importantly, we ask the people of Kisumu to ensure that the activities tomorrow are peaceful. Criminals who try to take advantage of the situation, if any at all, should be arrested and handed over to the police.
Anybody who lives in Kenya at this moment is surviving. Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 protects the right to protest. It states that every citizen has a right to peacefully protest and to serve the government or duty bearers with petitions.
Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti has pledged to undertake reforms aimed at improving service delivery. According to the governor, the reforms will use recommendations from a report done by a task force. The governor says the reforms will focus on human resources, pending bills, motor vehicles, as well as ICT infrastructure.
ama findings ya zile mambo walienda kuangalia, na kama vile mumesikia kuna kazi ya kufanya. Lazima hii serikali ya county government ya Machakos tuhakikishe yale yote ile mipango yote tuko nayo iko ndani ya sheria na tunafuata sheria. Ni kweli watu wanalia kila siku na wafanyikazi wa Machakos hawalii bure. Mtu ameandikwa miaka 10 iliyopita na bado ako hapo hapo. Hakuna njia ya promotion. Mnasikia kila mtu anapiga kelele, madaktari, wafanyikazi around. Mnasikia maneno ya payroll. People are playing left, right and center with the payroll. Na payroll, hebu niwaulize, payroll ukienda unaenda huko behind my back, behind nini, unaenda unaongeza watu. Ukiongeza hao watu wanamaanisha lazima wafanye nini? Walipwe. Mimi nikipata mtu ako na ukora, utaenda nyumbani, unipeleke kotini, tutashinda kotini. I don't care and I'll prove myself.
All right, we continue following and monitoring the events that are taking place across the country as the nationwide protests have begun. Now, I understand in Mombasa, the protesters were dispersed by tear gas. You know, they were joined by Mombasa politicians that included Senator Mohamed Faki, MPs Rashid Bedzimba, Kisauni, Badi Twalib of Jomvu, Mashele Masoud of Mvita, Mishimboko Likoni, and Zamza Mohammed women rep. Remember earlier on, as we saw in Mombasa, initially they had talked to the OCPD of Kisauni constituency and they had agreed that they will have a peaceful protest. And also in Mombasa, remember that the civil society groups had been given a green light by the police to continue with their protest. But as of yesterday night, the police revoked that green light, if I may say so. And of course, this early in the morning, we saw them gather up, and we equally saw them, have an altercation with the police officers, saying that they will have peaceful protests and that they will not disrupt, the businesses and events that are taking place in Mombasa. But of course, that situation changed quite fast when they were, joined by these leaders, and of course, tear gas was dispersed to protesters. But I understand we now have Bramwell Bwire, who is joining us live from Kisumu. Bramwell, talk to us what's happening where you are.
Well, good morning, Ashley. As you've said, yes, we are here in Kisumu, and we're following up these Sabasaba demonstrations that are slated to happen here in Kisumu town. Of course, the normal Kondele area is always the first spot that any demonstration called, political demonstration called in the county or in the country, always starts there. And of course, everything there is a standstill. The roads have been barricaded. Already we have some bonfires that have been lit along that road. People are still gathering in large numbers there in a move to ensure that they can now surge their way to this CBD. But I have to tell you that where I'm standing right now is a roundabout, something like a roundabout where you have the county commissioner's office. On my left, we have the state lodge, and then we have some basic government amenities like banks here. This is the place that we're expecting the protesters, after they have started their march here, they will be moving here to present their petition to the county commissioner according to their plan. That was their plan yesterday, that after their march from Kondele tomorrow, they will be coming straight to this county commissioner's office here to present their manifesto and their petition, just to complain about the high cost of living, as they are saying. But at the gates there is the state lodge. That is where a lot of activities happen here when we have demonstration. The demonstrators, since the first day the demonstrations were called, they have been trying to gain access to the state lodge. But today we are seeing there's a high contingent of police officers. The roads have been barricaded just to ensure that any vehicle that passes using this road to Dunga Beach is being checked and fixed, to ensure that only people who are certified and they are not harmful or they are not carrying harmful gadgets are allowed to pass through this road. No one will be allowed to gain access to the state lodge. But we will be moving to the Kondele area just to see exactly what is happening. But I have to tell you, Ashley, again, that the Nyamasaria area, this is the road that comes from Kisumu to Nairobi. It has also been notorious in the past scenarios, but today things remain pretty calm on that road. That is not the case on the road from the CBD to Busia County. At the Otongolo area, we have seen there is a number of young men, rowdy men, who have lit bonfires there. They have barricaded the roads just to ensure that any vehicle that is coming in, be it a personal vehicle, be it a matatu that is trying to gain its access to the CBD, has to do away with some shillings to the rowdy youths to ensure that they gain their access to the CBD. But there's also high contingents of police officers who are manning this particular area just to ensure that no one comes to the CBD. At the Patels, that is the gateway to the CBD from Kondele, we're having police officers there. When you go to Aga Khan area that allows people from Busia to gain the CBD, we're also having so many people, so many police officers there, just trying to ensure that everything is at standstill, just to ensure that no one comes in and causes any problems here. Today, different from the other days that we are having demonstrations here, we can still see some border operators going on with their business, although the number of pedestrians in this town is low. Businesses have totally shut down in the CBD. No one wants to take the risk of opening his or her business because of the past, or fear of the uncertainty. We've seen in the past demonstrations where goods have been vandalized. We have seen shops, kiosks, and even supermarkets being vandalized here. So I think that is the reason why these people do not want to take that chance of opening their businesses today. But this is exactly the real scenario here in Kisumu CBD. Of course, we'll be trying to gain our access to Kondele area and see exactly what is happening, move to Nyamasaria area and see what is happening. And there's also a famous slum here, Nyalenda. That is also another area that is always a cause of concern whenever we have demonstrations. So we'll also be trying to go there. Remember the other time we had demonstrations, they went to the UDA offices and burnt it down. So we'll also be moving there just to see what are these young men saying, what are they up to, and what exactly they are doing. But up to now, Ashley, there is no much cause of worry. There's no much cause of alarm in Kisumu. So we are going to wait. Of course, here things might be clear now. In the next 2 minutes, Kisumu is inaccessible. So we are going to give clock-to-clock updates from here in Kisumu City to our viewers. So from here, Ashley, back to you in the studios.
All right, thank you so much, Bramwell Weir, for that comprehensive update. Of course, we continue monitoring the events in Kisumu. But of course, as Bramwell has just mentioned, the CBD is quite empty. Businesses are not opened as, business owners are scared of the events that could take place. Kondele, there are still some fires that have been lit, and security has been heightened across Kisumu. So we continue monitoring that event. But of course, even as we monitor the events and of course, other counties and what is happening in terms of protests, I want to bring in Ascon Kamili, who is a political analyst. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm happy you made it. I hear Thika Road, things are quite.
I understand. I was coming from Gong Road, so I really didn't know what was going on Thika Road. Yeah. But I hear a lot of activities already are happening out there, and there's that general scare, as I've had the reporters say out there. So many people are not very ready to have their lives disrupted by, the protests that are going to be done by the opposition today. Yeah. So it is pretty cold in Nairobi, but we hope it will not make it much worse.
I hope so. But as you've mentioned, the fact that Kenyans are scared. Kenyans are worried. Yeah. We've seen what's happening in Mombasa. We're seeing, what is likely to happen in Nairobi. When you look at protest, ideally, it is a constitutional right. Yeah. And for example, giving an example of Mombasa, those protesters did say that they're going to be peaceful. Right. But still, that does not change much in terms of when it comes to the police and ensuring that they protect citizens when it comes to picketing. Talk to us about that, the blatant disregard of law.
It is very interesting that protests are held world over. There have been protests in France, there have been protests in South Africa, there have been protests in Nigeria just after the election of the current president. Yeah. And it is very interesting that it's only in Kenya that when protests are held, then it makes news all over the world. And that is because of the particular fact that when protests are held in Kenya, they turn into very violent demonstrations where people lose businesses, lives are lost, and such very bad news go out there. So that is where the attention comes from. Yeah. But that takes me to why this happens. The Constitution provides that whenever we feel disgruntled, whenever we feel our issues need to be addressed, we have the avenue, of going out there and expressing ourselves without being disrupted by anybody, not even the police. Actually, the police is supposed to provide security while you're doing your peaceful picketing. Mm-hmm. You'll also realize that the Constitution has very clear guidelines on how this should be done, how you're supposed to, brief the security apparatus, how you're supposed to, conduct yourself while doing your picketing. However, we realize that there's a very big distinction between picketing done by the civil rights groups, picketing done by the common wananchi. I remember the other time the traders, I think traders from Nyamakima or somewhere, were doing their demonstrations in town, and it ended peacefully. But there's a big distinction between that form of picketing and demonstration with what happens when the opposition party calls for demonstrations. You realize they'll descend into beating people on the road, injuring others, lives are lost, and things like that. I think that is where now the police come in to disperse them. For instance, you just gave a clear overview of what happened in Mombasa a few minutes ago. They began very well when the civil rights groups were there. When the politicians came on board, things went south and the police had to do something.
Yeah.
So this is what happens. Our opposition has this mentality that when such bad news or such bad things happen, that's when they'll get the attention of the world. That's when they'll get the attention of the international community. When a life is lost, the international community will have to do something or will have to say something. When people are complaining that their businesses are shut, that's when now the whole world gets the attention, gives us the attention. And that's not the right thing to do. What we need to do is we need to take advantage of what the Constitution provides and follow the law and ensure that our grievances are heard and are addressed accordingly.
Yeah.
We have other avenues like the courts of law. The finance bill that forms part of the reasons why Azimio is going to, or the opposition is going to the streets, has been properly addressed by the courts of law. And I don't think the president so far has ignored any of the court orders that has been given. If it were in other spaces or even in other countries, other jurisdictions, presidents have blatantly dismissed such positions of the court. In Kenya, we have seen the president has been dismissed on the question of the CASS. I've not had him demand that they report to office with total disregard to what the courts say.
Yeah.
He has been dismissed on the finance bill by the courts. He is proposing to go for an appeal. The same thing can equally be addressed by the courts of law without having to lose lives, without having to lose businesses. And I think the opposition should consider that.
Yeah, but let's just not forget one thing. In Mombasa, it was peaceful.
Yeah.
Even when the politicians arrived, it was still peaceful.
Right.
Did the police really need to engage them?
I think, to be fair, the police need to exercise a level of restraint when they are dealing with protesters. In some instances, the police have become very aggressive and have actually gone ahead to use excessive force when they're, stabilizing or making stable the environment where protests are happening. In other instances, I've seen that the demonstrators actually provoke the police. So there's a very fine line there, and it's important that both sides who are in the field, exercise a level of caution whenever they're engaging in this protest. But more importantly, it is very interesting that protests are happening in Moscow almost every day, and no such things are reported. Protests are happening all over the world. EFF was doing the protests in South Africa the other day, and we saw very organized, uniformed protesters who brought their petitions to the right offices where they intended to bring their petitions, and it was properly taken care of.
Yeah.
Right now, your reporter is reporting in Kisumu that, and actually that can be corroborated by a post by one of my friends in Kisumu, was going for a business meeting, and she has been stopped by very rowdy youths at the same spot that your reporter is giving us information that this is happening. So this is where I'm getting concerned that really both sides, the police and the protesters alike, they need to exercise caution and to ensure that the protest, which is their constitutional right, is done within the confines of the law.
So I'm curious then. So then we've seen cases of journalists, being on the wrong side of this, attacked by police.
Right.
What would you say in that case?
It's very wrong. Nobody can justify such level of high-handedness. The police are supposed to protect you. The police are supposed to guard you whenever you are in such circumstances. And even if you are on the wrong, the police is not supposed to beat you up. They're supposed to apprehend you and bring you to a court of law so that you're heard. The journalists have a place and provided for by the law in such circumstances. I don't expect a journalist to be manhandled in that fashion by the police. And that is very wrong. So therefore, little wonder we have institutions that are meant to deal with such matters, and I hope they take them seriously. Whenever the Police Service Commission and the other one that deals with when the police exercise their power, they go beyond their space of authority.
Yeah.
There's an institution that is supposed to deal with this. I think they need to take such things seriously and deal with such police officers with the authority and with the power that
all right, but this has been happening. It's not the first time, it won't be the last time. Okay, but before we even continue with this, I want us to just speak our investigative reporter Francis Ode. He's joining us via phone. Francis, good morning. Talk to us about Nairobi. What is happening? Last we know of is the fact that the police boss has said the rally is legal, but they will not be allowed into the CBD. What else do we know?
Good morning, Ashley. Indeed, yes, it's a cold morning with Sabasaba protest going on. On issues of security, I must say, yes, dozens of police have been deployed in various places in the CBD and across Nairobi. We've seen inspection of cars currently going on at State House. We have been going around, and police have been deployed in major roads. We've seen at the State House Road, we have seen police there. We've also seen police at the State House Avenue. We've also seen the processional way. Police have been deployed there, ready to do their work, and even Dennis Street. Again, along Ngong Road, we've seen a lot of officers on trucks and patrols. In Langata Road, we've gone there, and we've seen also the road that connects Kibera and Langata has been also, there are police there. And even Mbagathi, the road that connects Mbagathi and Ngong Road. We've also seen police, anti-riot police heavily deployed in those. We are yet to go to Mathare, where we are on our way, headed to Mathare, and then we will proceed to Kawangware. We also understand that different locations, we have seen police officers being deployed there. In Kibra, so far, the heavy deployment of officers, we all understand that this is the backyard of the Azimio leader, Raila Odinga, who declared a Sabasaba rally across the country. So far in the CBD, we have seen the entire place, the entire route that gets into the CBD has been already surrounded by anti-riot police. And the normal police, we've also seen and interacted with the police, the normal police who are not in the uniform. They are also deployed in various locations along the entrance and the locations and the roads that bring passengers into the CBD. So far, in the CBD, we've also seen that there is calmness and there is nothing much that is going on. The day is calm, just like any other day, but different businesses have opened, while others they have opted to close. We shall be keeping a close eye to the security situation. I'm going around tracking the situation on the ground, looking at the security situation and how the police officers will be handling the protest this day.
All right, thank you so much, Francis Ode, for that status update. Of course, we'll continue linking up with you as we go on, but that's the update we're getting right now. So far, everything is calm, but there is heightened insecurity. Police officers are almost in majority of the roads that we're likely to see protesters using. Now, I want to come back to this conversation. Ascon is still here with me. Earlier on, you're talking about the fact that it's a two-way. You're blaming both sides, both the protesters and both the police officers. But you equally mentioned the fact that we have authorities such as IPOA who are meant to help with such situations. Let's not forget that IPOA has over and over, time and time immemorial, called out police officers. Let's not forget either the fact that everything goes sideways once the police get there. Protests are usually peaceful until the police provoke the protesters.
Okay, I wouldn't agree entirely with that assertion, considering that we have seen other circumstances or other instances where actually the protesters are the ones who provoke the police.
But in certain areas.
So it's a balance of responsibility, where the police is supposed to exercise caution to a certain level, and the protesters are also supposed to exercise caution. The police will not sit somewhere and watch the protesters beat an innocent citizen. They'll have to do something. That is their responsibility. The police will not sit somewhere and watch as somebody's shop is, looted. They have to do something. And what is the closest thing they will do? Because the protesters are usually armed with stones and some very dangerous weapons in that sense. The police will have to lob tear gas, which will then definitely cause a lot of, confusion in that space. Okay. So therefore, my position, very objectively, is that there needs to be caution on both ends, and it's a balance of responsibilities. Just in the very same fashion that the police need to exercise caution while dealing with the journalists who are in the field and also dealing with the protesters must equally exercise caution and know that their rights end where mine begins or any other person begins. The person who is opening their shop in Kibra has a right to open their shop, just like you have a right to do your protests in Kibra. Do not have to overstep your space and go into somebody else's space and cause confusion there. It is what the law says, and the police are there to enforce the law. So for me, I would not want to defend the police entirely. I would want to ask them to exercise caution and ensure that they guard the protesters, but equally demand that the protesters exercise caution and ensure that everybody does their things without disruption.
All right. You know why I'm sort of questioning this, and maybe we shouldn't dwell on this much more. But you see, for example, what happened in Mombasa, as I had mentioned, it was peaceful. But shortly after, when the police arrived, they were told to sit on the ground. And then they agreed that, okay, we'll continue, we'll be peaceful. They decided, okay, let's continue. They talked to the OCPD Kisauni constituency. They were moving on. Once the politicians arrived, it was a whole different story. No one had engaged the police officers, but they engaged.
No, I think
so then who is supposed to, you know, defend
the police should
Kenyans?
Then take responsibility. And that's why I mentioned that there are authorities and institutions that have been mandated to take care of such aggression by the police. The IPOA is in that space where they're supposed to, you know, bring to account such police officers who use excessive force whenever they are operating or whenever they're out there doing their work. Now, the IPOA should equally realize that they are not limited to just calling out the police and, you know, demanding that they act accordingly. They have as much authority as to bring them to account and, you know, demand that they actually work within the confines of the law.
But as you said, we need not to dwell much into that. Our responsibility should be, as a citizen, exercise your rights within the confines of the law. As an officer of the court or as a police officer, please exercise your rights or your responsibilities within the confines of the law.
All right. I want us to take a short break, but even as we take that short break, I want us to just take a look at the situation in Kisumu. Those are live pictures you're getting right now. Shortly, they should be on your screen shortly. We're seeing the streets of Kisumu are empty, as of course, well, a few people here and there, but majorly they're empty. Earlier on, we spoke to Bramwell Bwire, and he did mention that, of course, businesses are closed. People are fearing, you know, the outcome of the protest. So businesses are closed, streets are empty. Majority of the people have decided to remain home and just wait and see what happens today as the Sabasaba rallies continue countrywide. And of course, earlier on, we equally saw that the Kondele fires have been lit across Kondele roundabout there, and equally security has been heightened in Kisumu. But that's not the only county that we are monitoring. We're equally monitoring Mombasa. You know, earlier on we saw police disperse protesters with, you know, tear gas after the politicians arrived. We equally saw in Nyeri, nothing is happening as of yet. And here in Nairobi, we spoke to Francis Ode, who's our reporter, and he equally said, apart from the fact that, you know, security has been heightened in major roads, so far it is calm. So we take a break. We'll be back with, of course, the conversation, and we'll keep on updating you on the situation on the ground. Keep it KTN News.
KTN News. Get the whole story. Buying a home is a life-changing experience and is possible for anyone as long as they are well informed. Today is the day you rise from an aspiring homeowner to an empowered buyer.
The first step is exploring your options. Which locations and what facilities will serve your needs? What can you afford? How much financing can you secure? What return can you expect on the investment? Call 0719 034 550 for more information. Prepare yourself for an electrifying experience that will rev up your engines and leave you breathless. The second Digger Motor Show is here to take you on a thrilling journey through the world of automotive excellence. Check out the sleek and sophisticated luxury cars and witness the unveiling of the hottest new models from renowned manufacturers, each one pushing the boundaries of style and performance. Mark your calendars for the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 at the KICC and get behind the wheel of your dream car. Be ready to experience the second edition of the Digger Motor Show. Come and ignite your passion for cars. You don't want to miss a single moment. To book your space or get more details, call Caroline Nyandieka on 0723 803601. We value your feedback and welcome any comments, queries, or complaints regarding our news content. You can get in touch with us on SMS 22155, call 0719-012-450, or email feedback@standardmedia.co.ke, or you can send us a letter on Post Office Box 30080-00100. or deliver it to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi.
Kenya, one of the lands that people still argue, is it an emerging market, frontier market, is it established yet? That debate can be settled right here on this particular show, The Trading Bell. What we do is that we speak to the people who are making decisions in these particular companies to get to know what are they doing and what is the future of businesses in which they are running. Now, one of the things that we also do is to help you understand how the markets are, what's happening in the market, and you don't want to miss these particular conversations on our markets analysis and Markets 101. Make sure you always tune in every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on these particular conversations right here on The Trading Bell Show, KTN News, for your dose of The Trading Bell.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with News Center. We continue monitoring the events happening countrywide as protests begin in Mombasa. Of course, we saw an altercation with police officers. At first, we saw the civil society groups start the protest in peace before they were joined by politicians, and then it all went south. Those pictures there, you're seeing pictures that our reporter took on his phone. As you can see, that is the events that took place. There you can see protesters peacefully protesting before the tear gas was being launched. There you go. That is exactly what happened. But of course, let's just update you on the politicians who were there. We had Mombasa politicians that included the Senator Mohamed Faki. We had members of Parliament from Kisauni, Rashid Bedziba. We had Badi Twalib of Jomvu. We equally had, Mashele Masaud of Mvita, Mishimboko of Likoni, and of course, Zamzam Mohammed, women rep. We equally went all the way to Kisumu. Situation situation is equally calm so far. Still in Nyeri, the situation is calm, and here in Nairobi, the situation is equally calm, but there is heightened security. Remember earlier on, the police boss did mention that, the Kamkunji rally is legal, but they will not be allowed into the CBD, and of course the State House Road is going to be blocked. So we want to continue with our conversation. Askan Kamili, who is a political analyst, is still here with me. So let's talk about the history of, the Sabasaba. Do you think the Azimio, the opposition, are riding on the spirit of Sabasaba for this? Does it give the protest more weight?
I'm actually very grateful that I was invited on this show on this particular day, because Sabasaba has a very special space on our history as a country, the political history, and generally the history of the country. Sabasaba was very fundamental, particularly in the fact that we had a country that was being run on some form of dictatorship. We had the Kanu government, we had Moi, and it took a lot of effort for Kenya to be what it is today. And credit goes to some members of the opposition as well that took part in this protest and took part in this agitation. But political agitation does not border on political violence. Political agitation remains agitation. You could even go on political agitation right from where we are right now, and your voice will be heard and change will happen. It doesn't have to be violent for it to be heard. Kenya has a history of real violent protests that we need to be very cautious whenever we engage in any form of demonstrations. But also with that in mind, I'm very concerned about the kind of thinking within the Azimio ranks or the opposition ranks. This is an idea that was conceived 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, if we are going to use the same idea to advance political interests or political agitation, then that paints the picture that there's very little touch of innovation or innovative thinking in how strategies are developed within the file and rank of the opposition. So it is important that we can take advantage, or the opposition can take advantage of the young people within their file and rank, the intellectuals around there, to come up with ideas that are more practicable within the setup that we find ourselves. When you talk about disrupting businesses to achieve a political end goal or to gain political capital, political science then would direct you that you'll be losing support from the very people who you intend to get support from. When you come to Gikomba and disrupt businesses of people who are not intending to join your protests, it becomes printed on their minds and hearts that the person who disrupted my daily income on that particular day is the opposition. So politically speaking, or on the basis of political analysis, it might not be a very good idea to keep reverting to political protests whenever your negotiations have not worked. And I think there are better avenues through which political agitation can be done. We could have a cocktail of the courts and demonstrations and picketing protests here and there. So many other avenues that can be used to achieve whatever political capital that the opposition is attempting to achieve. But I also wonder the very big contradiction between what the opposition claims to be fighting for and what they are achieving through this protest. On the one hand, the opposition claims that they want to fight for people to get more money in their pockets. The state of the economy is in a mess. On the other hand, the same opposition is advancing, this level of anxiety in the country. Businesses cannot be done. And in some places where businesses are happening, everybody's closing shop because they're not sure whether the protesters are going to invade your shop and loot. So there's a big contradiction and irony that I think they should come out very boldly, call out those who are rogue within their protests, demand that they have the security, of the party security, I want to believe, that is supposed to take care of such instances and ensure that protests are done accordingly. It paints a very bad picture of what Sabasaba was originally conceived as. Sabasaba, even then, while at the instances there was violence here and there because the government then was very aggressive, in the end it achieved its goal by ensuring that everybody got to do what was right. The church was involved, the women groups were involved, the youth groups were involved, the political class played a role because of course they're the political class. But there was a lot of agitation from all quarters. Even those who are not engaged in politics, they felt there was something very important that needed to be addressed.
So then let me ask you, let me just cut you short, and sorry for that. you're talking about the issue of other, stakeholders
Players,
apart from, the politicians.
Class, yeah.
Let's just take a look at the Finance Act 2023.
Right.
We saw Kenyans
Right.
saying that, you know what, this is too much.
Right.
We saw clerics come out and say this is too much.
Right.
We saw civil society groups come out and say this is too much.
Right.
Were we heard? Were Kenyans heard? No. How did we get to this particular point? Even with the opposition, didn't they,
I like that. I like the fact that, for the very first time, I think even about a border person knows that there's something called finance bill in Kenya. Because initially we've had, this bill and, the budget is read and things are happening. Nobody knows. People just know that the finance minister then and the cabinet secretary now would go to parliament and read the budget and things are moving. But for the first time, there was real conversation, even at the most basic places, in the small bars out there, in the, what do you call them, the nyumba kumis and, the garages down there. People were having a conversation about the state of the economy. And for me, that was
results?
Yeah, and for me, that was more important, the fact that everybody was aware of what was going on and people were discussing this. Now, as to whether the government listened to the people or not, it is important that a government listens to the people. It is necessary that the government puts into consideration what views the people have. And that is why we have the Constitution that provides for a whole, provision on public participation. And if public participation is not adhered to accordingly, you'll be shocked that the courts will literally put aside whatever you were doing. So it is important that the government listens. And to me, the extent to which the government has listened is the fact that everybody can interpret the law in the manner they wish. You could interpret the law the way you wish because we can read the law, all of us. Mm-hmm. But there are people and the institutions, particularly in the judiciary, that are charged with the responsibility to interpret the law, and that becomes authority. Now, everybody who felt that they had a problem with the finance bill went to court. Okay, Mtata was there, so many other people, and went to court. And they were listened to. And the court made a determination on this matter. And I like it that once the court made a determination on this matter, the government, as powerful as we may believe it is, has only one option, provided for by the law, to go to a superior court for redress. And they have done exactly that. So that is the trajectory Kenya should take. That whenever you feel that your grievances are not being attended to in the manner you would have wanted them to be attended to, there's a place of redress, and that is in the courts of law. But most of the times, particularly advanced by the opposition, is that whenever things don't work in their favor, then that institution becomes bad. We start slinging mud on that institution, and we think that that institution has been bribed. When the Supreme Court gave a determination on the last election, while some people did not agree with it, it is not right to keep on slinging mud and making everybody feel that it is not a credible space. And now when the same institution, which is the judiciary, has dismissed President Ruto on the CASs and has dismissed President Ruto on the finance bill, then they are doing the right thing. I think shifting goalposts is not the right thing. We need to be objective at every instance. And whenever we feel that the courts are not doing the right thing, there are proper mechanisms provided for by the law in which these persons can get redressed.
So then, let me ask you, so then do you think we have achieved the freedom that we fought for in 1990 on such a day?
Now, freedom is very gradual and freedom is very relative. Somebody would say they want freedom to kill the others, or they want freedom to do things that are not correct within the eyes of the law. What is freedom is what is defined by the Constitution. For instance, we are saying that there's freedom and you have a right to protest. I think that is what should be protected, and that's why we're demanding that the police protects the protestants, the protesters,
yeah.
And equally that the law provides that your rights, which are defined, there are rights that are defined as to be inalienable, there are rights that are defined in other terms. I mean, the Constitution that Kenya has is a very superior constitution that talks about every little aspect of how a human being should live and how the citizens of Kenya should be protected. Okay. And therefore, so far, so good. Our freedom has been achieved to a level, but there are some spaces where we need to advance better. We need to get better, and that's why we have the law, we have the judges, we have the judiciary that are supposed to help us advance this.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Ascon Kamili, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much for making time and for your contribution. Great. Of course, the KTN News team continues monitoring the events that are taking place countrywide. We saw what happened in Mombasa. The protesters were dispersed by the police after they actually, they told them that they will be having peaceful protest. But even after that, we saw them, we saw the police disperse the protesters after the politicians joined them. Equally in Kisumu, things are calm as of now. There's heightened security in Nyeri. Not much was happening as of the time we were speaking to Clement Masoma, but of course he's doing rounds and we'll keep you updated. And here in Nairobi, security is tight in major roads, so be sure if you want to leave the house, please rethink your routes. Well, thank you so much for your company. I'm Ashley Mazuri. I want to hand over to Hadia Mosiwa, who is going to continue with the coverage. Thank you so much.
KTN News. Get the whole story. When it comes to your motoring needs and likes, there is only one place where you will find the best automotive dealers and enthusiasts alike. You will enjoy the best deals on vehicles, spare parts, insurance, and asset financing tailored to fit all your needs, all at the Digger Motor Show. It's the place you will want to be on the 20th of July, 2023.
Jack Motors, we are the authorized distributor for light trucks and pickups in Kenya. The manufacturer is JSC Motors, which is based in FA, China, with a wide range of products. In our showroom, we do have N75 4-ton truck, and we also have T8 2000cc diesel turbo double cab. Other than the diesel versions, we have electric, the first double cab and 4-ton truck electric in Eastern Central Africa. Yeah, we have branches in Mombasa, Kisumu, and also here in Nairobi we have a branch along Mombasa Road and another one at Parklands. But our HQ is located at the River Road, just next to Subaru Kenya.
For a great time worth all your passion for bikes and cars and all types of vehicles, you will get the best experience at the annual Digger Motor Show with fellow petrol heads. Whether just to buy or to experience great motor engineering, find your way to KICC from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd July 2023 and be a part of the Grand Motor Show where business thrives and fun stays alive. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723803601 or email cnyandieka@standardmedia.co.ke.
Africa Speaks, a groundbreaking show that brings you the beauty, diversity, and untold stories of Africa like never before. From the sprawling savannas to the bustling cities, from ancient traditions to modern innovations, Africa Speaks captures the essence of this magnificent continent done by Africans from an African perspective. Journey with us to the continent's tourist attraction and historical sites through Destination Africa. Learn from our ancestors' wise words on Proverb of the Day. Africa Speaks, where the voice of Africa echoes around the world.
This is KTN News.
Unazubai hivi tu mtaani, si upite na mita uwe mshindi. Cheza Instamita na unaweza jishindia hadi mita 10 papo hapo bila ngoja ngoja. Game yenyewe ni rahisi sana. Bonyeza *239# sasa ushiriki. Usizubae bana. Cheza Instamita leo upate nafasi ya kujishindia mamita. Over 18 only. Gaming is addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been authorized by the BCLB. License number 880.
Kwa miaka mingi tumekuwa tegemeo kwa nchi nzima kwa habari za kuaminika, matukio katika nyanja zote za maisha, siasa, usalama, mahakamani, michezo, yote tumekuletea wakati ufaao. Na ndio maana tunakuboresha hata zaidi, kwamba sasa KTN leo itakuwa ikikujia kwa saa nzima kila siku. Hapa ndipo taarifa za matukio kwa njia inayokufaa zaidi, maana sisi ndisi.
Prepare yourself for an electrifying experience that will rev up your engines and leave you breathless. The second Digger Motor Show is here to take you on a thrilling journey through the world of automotive excellence. Check out the sleek and sophisticated luxury cars and witness the unveiling of the hottest new models from renowned manufacturers, each one pushing the boundaries of style and performance. Mark your calendars for the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 at the KICC and get behind the wheel of your dream car. Be ready to experience the second edition of the Digger Motor Show. Come and ignite your passion for cars. You don't want to miss a single moment. To book your space or get more details, call Caroline Nyandieka on 0723 803601.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai mzima wa afya popote unapoitegea KTN News siku hii ya tarehe 7 mwezi wa 7 mwaka 2023, tarehe ambayo ina maana tofauti kwenye mataifa jirani ikiwemo taifa la Tanzania, lakini hapa nchini Kenya ni siku ambayo mwaka 1990 maandamano yalifanyika kote nchini kuweza kutaka uhuru wa kupiga kura na mambo mengine muhimu ambapo yaliweza kushangia katika uhuru wa taifa hili na hatua tulizopiga hadi sasa. Vile vile ni siku ya kimataifa ya Kiswahili. Tunajivunia Kiswahili na tutakuwa tunaendelea vile vile kukikuza na kukienzi. Jina langu ni Hadia Mwasiwa, yapo mengi tuliyokuandalia. Karibu kwenye taarifa hizi za yanayojiri. Na moja kwa moja tukingwananga mtazamaji, na nafikiri tutakuwa tunaanza na hili ambapo baadhi ya viongozi wa dini wamewataka wafuasi wa Azimio wanaoshiriki kwenye maandamano ya Sabasaba kufanya hivyo kwa amani bila kuharibu mali. Wakiongozwa na Askofu Dominion Karua wa kanisa la Great Army eneo la Githurai, Kiambu, viongozi hao walisema ingawa ni haki ya wao wanakuandamana, maandamano hayo sharti yafanywe kwa njia ya amani bila kuliweka taifa kwenye misukosuko. Naye askofu wa kanisa la Redeemed Gospel Arthur Kitonga akiwataka Wakenya kuishi kwa amani na manufaa ya uchumi wa taifa.
Tutakuwa na demonstration both side wa serikali ama opposition. Mimi ningeomba niseme amani idumishwe na tusiharibu kitu ya mtu. Ni mzuri kwa sababu kila mtu ako na right yake, lakini amani idumishwe kila mahali. Tuchunge, tusiharibu vitu vile tumetengeneza. Hii nchi imetoka mbali sana. Mungu ako na kusudi juu ya nchi yetu, tusiharibu nchi yetu.
I also support the opposition, but then we should have a responsible opposition. We don't want them to destroy people's property. We don't want them to destroy peace. Let them demonstrate. Let them forward their point, whatever they want to say. But then let us have peace. As our bishop has said, let us remember we have only one nation called Kenya, and we don't have another place to go.
Nataka congratulate serikali yetu. Kwanza kuna kazi inafanya. Hii kazi ya mambo ya pombe. Ana vijana walikuwa wamemalizwa na pombe. Tafadhali ninaomba community, kanisa na bodi zote kama zinaweza. Na nilisikia wazee kule Kiambu wakisema wameuga hiyo kitu mkono ili tuokoe vijana wetu.
Na mtazamaji, kama nilivyokuarifu mwanzoni mwa taarifa, leo ni siku ya Sabasaba, yani tarehe 7 mwezi wa 7, ambapo Kenya vile vile wana kumbukumbu nyingi kuhusiana na tarehe hii mwaka 1990, ambapo maandamano ya Kenya nzima yalifanyika sehemu tofauti tofauti. Sasa tuelekee jijini Kisumu, tuungane na mwanahabari wetu Bramwell Bwire atucholee picha na taswira kamili ya hali ilivyo eneo hilo la Kisumu hii leo, maandamano hayo ya Sabasaba yakiwa yanaadhimishwa sehemu tofauti tofauti. Bwire, habari ya Kisumu, ipoje Kisumu kwa leo?
Sijambo Hadia, unapoangalia ni kwamba hali hapa wanavyosema Waswahili kwamba mambo yamechemka. Hapa vijana hawawezi kushikika. Vijana wale ambao walikuwa wamesema mwanzo walikuwa wamedhibitiwa kule na maafisa wa usalama, sasa wameingia katika eneo hili la kibiashara la Kisumu, na ni kwamba hali hapa ni ya mshike. Mambo kweli ishara tosha kwamba mambo si mazuri. Wameweza kufika hapa na wameweza kuwasakama hawa maafisa usalama, na sasa wanasema wanaelekea moja kwa moja hadi katika maafisa ya kamishna wa kaunti hii, wakidai kwamba watakwenda kuwasilisha zile stakabadhi zao na malalama zao kuhusu gharama ghali ya maisha na mambo mengine. Lakini ni kwamba hii ndio taswira ya mambo jinsi yalivyo. Huu ni ule mviringo wa shule ya upili ya Kisumu, barabara ya kuelekea kule Busia na kuelekea pande zile za Nairobi. Vijana hawa wamefika hapa, wamebeba mabango, wamebeba matawi, wanaimba nyimbo za kikaidi hivi. Wanasema kwamba wamechoka, na wanasema kwamba sasa ni sharti lazima waweze kusikizwa. Wanasema kwamba wasiposikizwa lazima wapo watasikizwa kwa njia ambayo ni ya kueleweka, basi italazimu tu watumie mbinu zote ili waweze kusikizwa. Sasa huu ni msafara ambao unaelekea moja kwa moja katika zile afisa za ile kamishna wa kaunti ya Kisumu. Kwa hivyo inakuwa vigumu sana kuweza kuwadhibiti. Maafisa wa usalama waliokuwa hapa wamejaribu kadri ya uwezo wao, lakini hawa vijana wameweza kuingia katika eneo hili la kibiashara. Wamebeba mabango, wanaimba nyimbo ambazo ni nyimbo wenyewe wanasema nyimbo za kimapambano, ili kuhakikisha tu kwamba wanaweza kuwasilisha zile alama zao katika afisi ya kaunti ya kamishna wa kaunti ya Kisumu. Kwa hivyo ndio hali taswira ambayo tutakuwa tunaifuatilia kwa karibu ili kuweza kumtaarifu yule mtazamaji kila tukio ambalo linaendelea kujiri hapa. Bado hatujui nini kitaendelea pale, kwani tunawasubiri labda wale maafisa wengine waweze kufika hapa na kuwapiga bega wale maafisa ambao wako hapa. Kwa hivyo hadi kwako pale studio.
Sadakta, asante mwenzangu Bramwell Bwire. Naona yuko kwenye heka pale kwenye jiji la Kisumu, akiwa waandamanaji tayari wamejitokeza kama ilivyo kwenye maeneo mengine ambayo nitakuwa na kujulisha mtazamaji ndani muda usiokuwa mrefu, wengi wakiwa wanaadhimisha yale maandamano yaliyofanyika mwaka 1990 ya Sabasaba, wakiwa na sababu tofauti na zilizokuwa hapo awali, wakiwa wanasema wanalalamikia gharama ya juu ya maisha. Sasa tuelekee pwani ya Kenya, ambapo tuungane na mwanahabari wetu Tobias Chaji atupe taswira yanayojiri eneo hilo la pwani siku hii ya maandamano ya Sabasaba. Chaji, habari ya asubuhi.
Maandamano alikuwa ameanza dakika chache zilizopita katika kaunti ya Mombasa, aliweza kutibuliwa na maafisa wa polisi waliotumia vitoa machozi. Kumbuka ni maandamano ambayo alikuwa amejumuisha wanasiasa kutoka kaunti ya Mombasa pamoja na wanaharakati kutoka mashirika tofauti. Nipo hapa na baadhi ya wanasiasa tu ambao labda watatoa hisia zao kuhusiana na maandamano hayo ambayo yametibuliwa dakika chache zilizopita. Tusogea hapa hivi. Tuna mbunge wa Kisauni, labda tuelezee watazamaji majina yako alafu kisha tuendelee na hisia zako.
Kwa majina ni Mheshimiwa Rashid Juma Bezimba, mjumbe wa Kisauni, na leo tumesikitika sana kitendo cha maafisa wa usalama kutawanya maandamano ya amani Ile ni haki katika katiba Mkenya yeyote kuandamana kati anakuta kuna kitu kinambana. Na tunashangaa kwamba walikuja wakatupa tear gas, wakapiga marisasi juu bila hata tatizo lolote ambalo kutokea wakati maandamano haya yameanza. Kwa hivyo sisi tunawalani maafisa wa usalama kwa sababu walipewa notification wao kwamba kutakuwa na maandamano haya na wakakubali, lakini leo wamebadilika na kuja kutushambulia. Na tunashangaa, sisi tunatembea kwa sababu ya hali ngumu ya kimaisha leo katika taifa. Uchumi umekuwa mbaya zaidi, vyakula gharama imekuwa juu zaidi. Hata wao inawa-affect wao maafisa wa usalama. Tunashangaa wao labda wako na maduka ambayo ni kama ni ya Afco ndani ya kambi zao, ndio sababu hawajali tena wananchi wengine. Wananchi saizi wako na shida kubwa, hawawezi kupeleka watoto wao shule, hawawezi kutibu familia zao, watu wanazidi kuwa maskini, mafuta yamepanda, imekuwa gharama zote sasa zimepanda juu. Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema kwamba hatutarudi nyuma kwa sababu ya maslahi ya watu wetu, ya wananchi. Tutazidi kuendelea mbele kuhakikisha kwamba mpaka siku ile serikali itasikia ishukishe bei ya bidhaa muhimu chini, hapo ndo tutaweza kusimama.
Shukrani mheshimiwa. Kwa dakika moja tupate kutoka kwa mbunge wa Jomvu Badi Twalib.
Kusema kweli leo tunalani sana kitendo cha polisi kuturushia tear gas katika maandamano yale. Sisi tunasema leo kuwa hali ya maisha iko juu na hali ya maisha haijui mrengo wote. Kwa hivyo sisi kama viongozi hivi sasa tunazungumzia kuhusiana na hali halisi ilivyo katika hii nchi. Hata wale polisi ambao waliturushia sisi tear gas, na hakika pia hali yao ni ngumu baada ya kuvua uniform, wakifika nyumbani hawana unga, ambao kama vile watu wengine wananchi wa kawaida wanajaribu kuuliza. Mimi leo naambia vyombo vya usalama kwa position walizo nazo ni temporary. Leo wanaweza kufanya mambo haya kwa wale ambao wanapigania haki yao, lakini kesho wanaweza kujuta kusema afadhali ingelikuwa wameacha sisi tuka exercise our democratic right. Leo mimi nataka kusema kitu kimoja, tukiwa wabunge tunashukuru kwa tuko on record tulikataa finance bill kutoka parliament. Na vile vile tunasema tukiwa leaders, wabunge wote wa Mombasa tukiwa leaders tunasema kuwa tulikataa finance bill parliament. Na leo tukataa hapa chini kwa sauti moja. Kwa hivyo tuko on record as leaders ndani ya mji huu wa Mombasa kwa hali hii ya udhalimu hatuwezi kuikubali. Alafu la mwisho ambao nataka kusema, maandamano hawawezi kutuzuia. Wamehairisha tu, ni kama kumpiga chura teke, ni kama kumsongeza mbele. Kwa hivyo wanatuhairisha, sisi tutaendelea.
Tukimaliza chura tuzungumze na Mishimbo.
Mimi kwanza nataka niseme, ikiwa Mkenya walitegemea sauti ya bunge, na pale bungeni Kenya Kwanza walibribe wabunge wale ambao hawajielewi, ambao hawatetei watu wao, na ndio sababu ile finance bill ikapatikana. Na kwa hivyo kama Wakenya waliona sauti ya bunge haikufanya kazi, kwa nini wasitoe sauti yao? Lazima watoe sauti yao, na sauti yao ni kupitia katiba ambayo sisi wenyewe wa Kenya tulipitisha. Katika fundamental rights ya Mkenya anaweza kudemonstrate, anaweza kupicket, anaweza kuprotest. Mimi nataka nashangaa na hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Yaani polisi karibu 100 wanawekwa kwa peaceful demonstrators, na wakati kule Boni Forest wa Kenya wanauawa, wakati kule Garissa wa Kenya wanauawa, wakati mipaka yetu haiko salama, wakati Pokoti kila siku wa Pokoti na Waturkana wanakufa, wakati Shakahola watu wanakufa. Where is the security? Where is that security we are talking about? Kama parliament, we have been giving big allocation to the interior ministry, to the ministry of defense. Wanajeshi wanakufa na landmine. Mpaka leo wanajeshi wanakufa na landmine. Kila siku tunazika. Nasikia uchungu sana. Juzi nimezika vijana 4 young men ambao wangeleta maisha yao, lakini wamekufa. Alafu leo polisi wananyanya kwa wananchi wasiokuwa na hatia. Mimi nataka niseme enough is enough. Na kwa lugha nyingine tunasema aluta continua. Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, don't be intimidated. Don't be swayed. Don't be changed. Usiogope.
Mheshimiwa.
Kama vile ulivyo, aluta continua. No retreat, no surrender.
Leo tumekutana hapa pamoja na mashirika ya kijamii, tuko na Muhuri na wengine, na tumekuja leo ili kukemea vitendo ambavyo polisi wamefanya. Tumekusanyika kwa amani, ikawa tu sisi tupeleke petition yetu kwa county commissioner. Lakini hata kabla hatujaanza, polisi wameanza kutupa tear gas. Mimi nasema wanadhulumu hata ile constitution. Manake Wakenya wanaruhusiwa kupicket, Wakenya wanaruhusiwa kuandamana. Gharama ya maisha imepanda juu. Na kila tunavyosema ni kama ingia kwenye sikio la kufa. Mimi nataka niwaambie Wakenya, nataka niwaambie daktari, mwalimu, yule mfanyikazi wa kampuni, wale wafanyikazi wote ambao mnakatwa hizi pesa, paka polisi, wekeni tools zenu chini, kaeni nyumbani tuone hawa watakusanya ushuru wapi. Manake kama hali ni hii, wewe rais ulisema kuwa utatetea mahustlers. Hao mahustlers ndio umewanunulia tear gas katika vitu vyote, hukuona unga, hukuona sukari, hukuona kitu chochote, umeona ni tear gas. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Naona mko wengi sana kidogo, acha tuongee na
hii tunataka kamati ya ubora wa bidhaa waje waichunguze hii tear gas. Wametupiga tear gas, lakini hii inaonekana expire, hii inawasha sana.
Mheshimiwa Seneta,
mimi namalizia kusema kwamba polisi ambao tunawatetea, polisi ambao hawana nyumba, polisi ambao hali zao za kuishi ni duni, wao ndio wamekuwa wa kwanza leo kututimua sisi. Natamwambia OCS wa Central Police Station Mr. Bore kwamba haya hayataisha hapa. Tutamuuliza hapa kotini, tutamleta kotini aje ajibu ni kwa sababu gani alitimua maandamano yetu ya Wasema pia hizi tear gas zime expire, hazifai kutumiwa kwa wananchi wa Kenya. Asanteni.
Mheshimiwa Namwa, ni hisia tu kutoka kwa wabunge wa chama cha ODM kutoka kaunti ya Mombasa pamoja na Seneta Omar Mwinyi wakizungumzia kuhusiana tu na ile maandamano ambayo yamekuwa dakika zilizopita na yakaweza kutawanywa na maafisa wa polisi. Kutoka kaunti ya Mombasa sina la ziada ila kurejesheni hadi Nairobi.
Na mtazamaji, ndivyo mambo yalivyo kwenye kaunti ya Mombasa. Heka zilianza mapema asubuhi, tumeona kama walivyoeleza viongozi. Vile polisi wamekuwa na kibarua kigumu cha kuwatawanya na kurusha vitoza machozi kwa wale waandamanaji. Hali pia vile kwenye jiji la Nairobi tunataka kuifahamu ilivyo. Tuungane na Francis Ode ambaye amekita kambi katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi, aweze kutujuza hali ipoje, hali ipo shwari, utulivu upo au maandamano vile pia yanashuhudiwa kwenye sehemu hizo. Ode.
Naam, Hadia, ni kweli kwamba hali iko shwari katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi. Niko katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi katika barabara ya Standard Street, katikati ya Standard Street na Wabera. Hapa hali iko kama unavyotazama. Ukiangalia upande wangu wa pili ni kwamba magari yanazidi kufanya shughuli ya kila siku. Barabara iko shwari, watu hapa si wengi zaidi, ila watu wanazidi kuingia pole, lakini hatujashuhudia mtafaruku wote wala rabsha katika jiji la Nairobi. Labda nikupeleke tu upande wa pili. Ukiangalia upande wa pili, biashara bado zimefunguka. Kuna zile ambazo zimeweza kufunguliwa na zile ambazo bado hazijafunguliwa kwa hofu kuwa huenda siku ikawa si shwari. Lakini kwa wale ambao wameweza kufungua wako na imani kwamba hali iko shwari, lakini kulingana na hali ambayo iko katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi, hali si tete ila hali iko shwari kufikia sasa. Labda niweze kusema tu na wawili watatu. Naona tuko na wazee hapa na tuweze kuongea nao tujue vipi wanatazamia lipi siku ya leo. Labda tuambie unaitwa nani, alafu kwa nini uko leo CBD?
Sasa mimi kwa majina naitwa Frederick Maina. Mimi ni mfanyakazi hapa wa taxi. Sasa unajua nimeonelea nikuje hapa town kwa sababu siwezi kaa nyumbani. Maandamano haitanisaidia nikikaa huko. Ikabidi nikuje hapa angalau nione kama nitapata at least lishe ya leo.
Kulingana na wewe, unafikiri maandamano ya leo yataisha vyema, ama wewe kama mfanyabiashara unafikiri siku itaisha vizuri?
Ni ngumu kuisha vizuri sababu unajua wenye wanakuja maandamano si lazima wawe ni maandamano wanakuja. Anaweza kuwa ni wakora. Unajua Nairobi kuna watu wanapata nafasi, akipata hiyo nafasi ya maandamano anakuja kupora, sio maandamano.
Labda nikupeleke tu upande wa pili wa eneo hili la jiji la Nairobi. Kumbuka tuko katika barabara ya Standard Street ambapo na kupeleka katika eneo lingine. Labda ni kuonyesha tu hali ilivyo. Hatujashuhudia machafuko yote eneo hili, na pia bado upande wa askari tumeweza kushuhudia kwamba askari wameweza kuwekwa kila mahali ili kuweza mtu yote ambaye anaweza kuingia eneo hili asiweze kuleta rabsha ama kuonyesha dalili yote ya kuleta mtafaruko wote katika eneo hili la CBD. Eneo hili bado ukiangalia vizuri tu upande wangu wa pili bado watu wanaendelea na shughuli zao za kila siku. Magari yameweza kuegeshwa, watu wameweza kuingia katika jiji la Nairobi, na mbali na siku zingine za maandamano utapata kwamba magari hayajaegeshwa wala magari watu hawajakuja nayo katika jiji la Nairobi kwa hofu ya kuweza labda waandamanaji kuweza kupiga vioo ama kuweza kuharibu magari haya. Lakini ukiangalia siku ya leo, ukiangalia vizuri, watu wameweza kuingia katika jiji la Nairobi na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba pia wao wanazidi kujenga nchi kama kawaida, na tutazidi kutembea. Tunatumai kwamba siku ikiweza kuendelea tutaweza kuwa tunajua iwapo rabsha zitashuhudiwa ama hazitashuhudiwa katika jiji la Nairobi. Tunatazamia pia kuelekea maeneo ya Mathare, maeneo ya Kibera, maeneo ya Kawangware kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba hali ya usalama iko shwari ama haiko shwari. Kulingana na hili, inasemekana kwamba wengi ambao wanatokea maeneo ya Kibera kumeweza kuwekwa malori ya askari ambao ni wale askari wa kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba fujo imeweza kukatizwa kabisa. Kwa sasa katika eneo hili la jiji la Nairobi hali ni shwari na kumetulia, ila tu kijibaridi tu kwa mbali, na sisi kama kawaida tutahakikisha kwamba tumeweza kukuletea habari hizi kama zinavyojiri.
Na asante mwenzangu Ode. Kijibaridi nacho kipo na si kwa mbali, kipo kwa wingi, lakini tunaendelea kuchapa kazi na naendelea kutuletea taarifa hizo. Kama ulivyoona mtazamaji, jiji la Nairobi lipo shwari vile vile, licha ya kuwepo kwa rasha za mvua asubuhi ya leo. Tutakuwa tunaendelea kufuatilia maeneo mengine. Sasa hivi tuelekee Nyeri ili tuweze kuungana na mwanahabari wetu Clement Masombo atujuze hali ilivyo eneo hilo.
Na hata maandamano ya Sabasaba yanapoendelea katika maeneo mengine ya taifa, hapa katika kaunti hii ya Nyeri na eneo zima la Mlima Kenya tumeshuhudia tu hali ya utulivu. Wa Kenya katika sehemu hii wamesema kwamba hawatajitokeza, hawatashiriki katika yale maandamano. Lakini kwa sasa nataka nizungumze na Bwana Ombogo Nyamu ambaye ni mmoja kati ya wale ambao walishiriki katika maandamano ya kwanza zaidi ya Sabasaba mwaka 1990 pale jijini Nairobi. Atueleze tu hali ilikuwa vipi, na kama eneo la Mlima Kenya, je, tumefikia yale malengo ambayo tulikuwa tunapigania wakati ule? Kama bado, ni wapi ambapo pamesalia kufikia yale mambo ambayo tulikuwa tunapigania? Shukrani sana Bwana Ombogo Nyamu kwa kuungana nasi. Miaka 33 imepita sasa tangu mlipopigania mliposhiriki katika maandamano ya kwanza sana ya kwanza kabisa ya Sabasaba. Kama eneo la Mlima Kenya, ni mambo gani ambayo mlikuwa mnashinikiza serikali kuwafikia, na kwa sasa tumefikia wapi katika kati ya yale mambo ambayo mlikuwa mnasukuma serikali nayo?
Asante sana Clement. Nakumbuka vizuri sana wakati huo ndio nilikuwa kijana, na nakumbuka ndio nilikuwa nimemaliza chuo kikuu cha Egerton kwa shahada la degree, na nakumbuka huo ndio wakati serikali ilisimamisha kwa usajilishi wa wanafunzi wa university kwa kazi immediately. Na nakumbuka wakati huo kulikuwa na shida hapa kama hapa kwetu Central. Haungefanya mkutano hata wa kinyumbani bila idhini ya chief. Haungefanya mkutano bila idhini ya kikundi kilikuwa kinaitwa Can Youth Wingers. Na mimi nakumbuka hata ungetaka kukula mbuzi ama kufanya rorashio, lazima ungetafuta ruhusa ya chief ama assistant chief. Kulikuwa kundi lilikuwa linaitwa special branch, na mkikutana mnashikwa. Na unajua siku hizo hakuko ile mambo ya ati lazima upelekwe kotini the following day. Ungeshikwa hata uwekwe kwa seli hata wiki 2 wiki 3. Na ndio tuliendelea. Nakumbuka sasa wakati Matiba na Rubia walipowekwa detention, ndio sasa kwa semekana kutafanywa mkutano ya Sabasaba. Wakati tulikuwa napanga, tukakubaliana wakubwa watakuja na pick up wapitie Land Highs, na sisi tukakubaliana tukae pande ya Gikomba, ile pande ya Pumwani. So usiku tukakuja tukapanga mawe. So asubuhi akina Shikuku wakikuja pande ile na akina Orengo, na sisi tukavuka mto hata kama ilikuwa imejaa, tukaingia pale katikati. Kuingia pale katikati tukachukua vidole mbili juu na kushout kushout multi-party. Na nafikiri tulisikia tumeridhika, sababu wakati huo hungeinua vidole mbili namna hiyo sema multi-party. Na tuliendelea kuandamana mpaka mwisho wa mwaka wa 91, mwaka wa mwezi wa Disemba, ambako sasa Moi ndiye alitoa ile kipengee ya section 2 akakubalisha multi-party. Sasa kutoka hapo ndio tukaenda tumepunguza kidogo kidogo. Ingawa hatukuacha, tuliendelea mpaka IPPG 1997. So mambo ya maandamano ilianza zamani, na katika katiba yetu imetupa huru wa kuandamana na kuweza kupigania zile mambo ambazo tunataka. Kwa wakati huu mambo ni tofauti. Hiyo uhuru tuko naye na bado iko, lakini kuna shida ya njaa na kuna shida ya ukosefu wa pesa. Na Clement, usione Nyeri kumenyamaza. Mimi nakwambia ni watu wanafinywa. Kuna gang ziko hapa zinafinya watu, lakini hawataendelea for long. Watu wamekasirika. Unajua sasa mimi nimezeeka, siwezi andamana sasa ati niongeze, lakini watu wamekasirika. Na sana vijana ambaye hawana kazi, zile familia ambazo ni za mapato kidogo, wanaumia na wanalia. Serikali isipofanya jambo kurudisha gharama ya maisha, ama ijue pahali itatafuta pesa ikiongezea watu wa compensate ile gharama ya maisha, hata yenyewe itakuja lipuka tu. Hiyo mimi nawahakikishia hivi karibuni tu itakuja lipuka.
Okay, shukrani sana. Bila shaka huyo ni Wambogo Nyamu ambaye ni mmoja kati ya wale walioshiriki kwenye yale maandamano ya kwanza ya Sabasaba mwaka 1990, na anasema kwamba kimya kingi kina mshindo. Tusione watu wa Nyeri wamenyamaza tukafikiri kwamba wako sawa, wamefinyika, lakini wakati ukifika anasema kwamba watajitokeza na watashiriki pia kwenye maandamano. Kwa hivyo kumaanisha kwamba anaunga mkono yale maandamano ambayo yanaongozwa na kinara wa muungano wa Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Raila Odinga, lakini tutakuwa tukizuru maeneo mengine ya eneo hili pia la Mlima Kenya tupate kujua wakazi na viongozi wa eneo hili nao wanahisi vipi kuhusiana na hayo maandamano ya Sabasaba.
Na ndivyo mambo yalivyo kwenye kaunti hiyo ya Nyeri. Kwenye kaunti ya Kisumu, hususan jiji la Kisumu, hali ya mshike inaendelea kushuhudiwa pale, ikiwa vitoza machozi vinarushwa kwa waandamanaji. Tulikuwa tumeona awali tukizungumza na Bramwell Bwire kwamba vijana wapo kwenye msafara na msururu wa kufanya maandamano kuadhimisha yale maandamano ya Sabasaba yanaendelea kufanyika kwenye sehemu zingine vile vile humu nchini. Na kwenda kwenye pumziko fupi, nitakaporejea nitakuwa na kujuza zaidi mtazamaji.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Prepare yourself for an electrifying experience that will rev up your engines and leave you breathless. The second Digger Motor Show is here to take you on a thrilling journey through the world of automotive excellence. Check out the sleek and sophisticated luxury cars and witness the unveiling of the hottest new models from renowned manufacturers, each one pushing the boundaries of style and performance. Mark your calendars for the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 at the KICC and get behind the wheel of your dream car. Be ready to experience the second edition of the Digger Motor Show. Come and ignite your passion for cars. You don't want to miss a single moment. To book your space or get more details, call Caroline Nyandieka on 0723 803601.
Kwa miaka mingi tumekuwa tegemeo kwa nchi nzima kwa habari za kuaminika, matukio katika nyanja zote za maisha, siasa, usalama, mahakamani, michezo, yote tumekuletea wakati ufaao. Na ndio maana tunakuboresha hata zaidi kwamba sasa KTN leo itakuwa ikikujia kwa saa nzima kila siku. Hapa ndipo taarifa za matukio kwa njia inayokufaa zaidi, maana sisi ndisi.
Africa Speaks, a groundbreaking show that brings you the beauty, diversity, and untold stories of Africa like never before. From the sprawling savannas to the bustling cities, from ancient traditions to modern innovations, Africa Speaks captures the essence of this magnificent continent, done by Africans from an African perspective. Journey with us to the continent's tourist attraction and historical sites through Destination Africa. Learn from our ancestors' wise words on Proverb of the Day. Africa Speaks, where the voice of Africa echoes around the world.
Achoke, you do me bad. Aya, achoke, you do me bad.
Ulitengeza hela ukaenda South Africa kidogo?
Mimi kweli sijawahi kufika South Africa.
How was it in prison, bro?
Life ni noma huko ndani.
I love that Gengeton is emerging.
Kumonchoka ni kufanya nini sasa?
Kumonchoka ni kutokea.
How did you feel after winning?
I was happy about it because it's something I've been working on.
I came from Meru. I didn't just come as a mtu ajui ni nini anaenda kufanya.
Impossible is nothing, man. I can tell you. So you don't aim high. You shoot high.
Yote ni vanity. Oh, vanity.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Sadakta mtazamaji, nusu saa imedondoka baada ya saa 5 majira ya asubuhi saa za Afrika Mashariki. Karibu tena kwenye taarifa hizi za yanayojiri, niendelee kukujuza yaliyoibuka na kugonga vichwa vya habari. Na tukisonga mbele tuzamia hili ambapo usafirishaji haramu wa vyuma chakavu kupitia mipaka ya Kenya kwenda nchi jirani umeendelea kushuhudiwa, huku serikali ikiweka mikakati ya kuzuia swala hilo ili kuimarisha kampuni zinazofua vyuma humu nchini. Inadaiwa takriban tani 5,000 zimesafirishwa kwenda nchi jirani, na hili kusababishia taifa hasara kubwa. Baraza la vyuma chakavu linasema linapania kuziba njia zinazotumika kusafirisha vyuma chakavu kutoka Kenya. Mwenyekiti wa baraza hilo Francis Mugo amesema hayo baada ya kuzuru kituo cha pamoja cha mpaka wa Kenya na Tanzania katika eneo bunge la Lungalunga. Hayo yanajiri wakati baraza hilo linapopania kuhakikisha sheria ya vyuma vikuukuu ya mwaka 2015 inatumika.
Sababu tumekuwa na visa vya vyuma ambavyo vinaharibiwa nchini Kenya zinaweza kupelekwa nchi jirani, na pia tumekuwa na visa ambapo vyuma ambapo sisi kama body ambayo ina regulate vyuma nchini hatupeani leseni ya kuexport, lakini vyuma hivi vimekuwa vikipelekwa katika nchi jirani zetu. So tumeweza kuwa na mazungumzo na tumekubaliana kuwa tukienda mbele ni vipi tunaweza kufanya kazi pamoja kama multi agency ili kuhakikisha kuwa tunalinda rasilimali zetu hapa nchini Kenya, na tuna viwanda vyetu ambavyo vinatumia vyuma vile zinaweza kuzitumia hapa nchini Kenya bila kupelekwa nje, na zile vyuma ambavyo tunaruhusu zikaweza kupelekwa nje zikaweza kupelekwa nje. So tumekubaliana kuwa watakuwa wanaangalia zile leseni vizuri, wanazungumza na sisi na tunaweza kufanya kazi pamoja, na ni vipi tutahakikisha biashara hii ya vyuma nchini Kenya itaweza kunawiri na itaweza kufanywa kwa njia ambayo inastahili.
Na mashirika ya kilimo ya Karo pamoja na Brook yamezindua ripoti inayohusiana na ustawi wa mifugo humu nchini kwenye hafla iliyoandaliwa jijini Nairobi. Mashirika hayo yalihimiza umuhimu wa kuwalinda mifugo kama vile punda ili kunufaika na faida na manufaa yao. Vilevile wadau katika sekta ya kilimo walihimiza serikali kupiga marufuku uchinjaji wa punda humu nchini.
Dr. Njuguna coming all the way to be with us this morning, afternoon. Let's smile. Fantastic effort, collaborate. So much work has gone into it. It's a joyous occasion.
Yeah, so I'm doing this presentation on behalf of Carlo, was just doing research.
The poor community in Kenya, they depend more on animals for transport, donkey being the most commonly used. In the agricultural value chain, not just the dairy value chain, in all the value chains in agriculture, donkey is a very important means of transport.
In 2019, we had about 1.8 million donkeys, but as our projection in the study that we did in 2019 actually showed that the donkey population was diminishing actually to 1.2 million. I think that's the current population.
The donkey is critical. The donkey not only feeds the cow, but it also goes ahead to bring water to the cow, but then when the milk is produced, it is the donkey that actually ensures that milk doesn't go bad at the household level. It takes the milk to the cooling plant and to the collection centers. And so the report has actually really brought out this huge contribution of the donkey to the milk sector.
Na watu watatu ambao ni maafisa wasimamizi wa kampuni moja ya kutengeneza jibini huko Limuru kwa jina Brown Cheese Company wametiwa mbaroni kwa tuhuma za kuwadhalilisha wafanyikazi wa kike wa kampuni hiyo kutokana na sodo ya hedhi iliyokuwa imetupwa pasipotakikana. Inadaiwa waliwalazimisha wafanyikazi hao kuvua nguo hadharani kubaini aliyekuwa ametupa sodo hiyo. Husna Muhammad na taarifa hii.
Wasimamizi watatu wa kampuni ya jibini ya Brown Cheese iliyoko Limuru wamejipata mashakani baada ya kudaiwa kuwalazimisha wafanyikazi wa kike kuvua nguo hadharani wakiwa kazini. Tukio hilo la kufedhehesha lililofanyika siku ya Jumanne linadaiwa kutokana na kupatikana kwa sodo kwenye pipa la taka kusikotakikana. Ndiposa walipolazimisha kuvua nguo ili kubaini ni nani hasa yupo kwenye hedhi ili awajibike.
Jana tulipata report kutoka kwa mama wanafanya wa kampuni inaitwa Brown kwamba wakitoka kazi walilazimishwa kutoa nguo waangaliliwe kama wako na hedhi, ambayo ni kitendo ilikuwa mbaya na ya unyama sana.
Maafisa wa polisi wa Limuru wamewatia mbaroni wasimamizi hao. Waliokamatwa ni pamoja na meneja ubora wa kiwanda, meneja wa idara ya wafanyikazi pamoja na msaidizi wake. Washukiwa hao watafikishwa mahakamani siku ya Ijumaa. Akithibitisha tukio hilo, kamanda wa polisi wa kaunti ndogo ya Limuru Philip Mwania alionya dhidi ya udhalilishaji wa wafanyakazi.
Kosa watastakiwa nayo ni indecent act, ambayo ni makosa ya sexual offenses. Inaonekana ni kudhulumu wafanyakazi na ni kitu imekuwa ikiendelea. Nataka kuonya makampuni leko within the Limuru ambao wanafanya vitu kama hizo ikome, na wakiendelea sheria itachukua mkondo.
Afisa wa fedha na utawala wa kampuni hiyo ya jibini Luke Kimathi hata hivyo amesema wameanzisha uchunguzi dhidi ya madai hayo.
The company is fully cooperating
with the police, and the company will be conducting a full internal investigation. All individuals involved have been suspended.
Mwakilishi wa kike wa kaunti ya Kiambu, Anwa Muradha, na pia amekemea vikali tukio hilo.
Hii kampuni ya Brown Cheese wachukuliwe hatua, na hatua kali ambayo itakuwa lesson kwa watu wale wengine. Hata ikiwezekana walipe hawa mama fidia.
Tukio hili linahujumu mafanikio ya sera ya Kenya ya kusimamia usafi wa hedhi mwaka 2019-2030 inayodhamiria kuhakikisha kwamba wanawake na wasichana wote nchini Kenya wanaweza kudumisha usafi wakiwa na hedhi kwa uhuru bila unyanyapaa, kwa kupata huduma na vifaa vya hedhi na kutupa taka za hedhi kwa usalama. Husna Mohamed, KTN News.
Na sasa tuzamie hili ambapo tume ya kuajiri walimu TSC imetangaza kwamba itahitaji jumla ya shilingi bilioni 73.8 ili kuajiri walimu 111,870 katika kipindi cha miaka 5 ijayo. Akitoa tangazo hilo kwenye hafla ya kuzindua mkakati vile wa mpango kwenye tume ya TSC, yani strategic plan ya mwaka 2023 hadi mwaka 2027, afisa mkuu mtendaji wa TSC Nancy Macharia alitangaza kwamba ili kuafikia malengo kwenye mkakati mpango huo, tume hiyo itahitaji jumla ya shilingi bilioni 135. Hata hivyo, waziri mwandamizi Musalia Mudavadi aliyetaka tume ya TSC kushirikiana kwa karibu na washikadau kwa manufaa ya mshikamano na ufanisi kwenye sekta ya elimu. Shadrack Miti anaarifu zaidi.
Kauli mbiu ya mkakati mpango wa tume ya TSC katika miaka 5 ijayo, yani Strategic Plan 2023-2027, ni mwalimu aliyetiwa motisha, mwadilifu na mwenye hitimu za kimataifa. Na wote walioshiriki uzinduzi wa mkakati mpango huo walishabikia kauli hiyo.
The main strategic focus areas in the new plan are